see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
That is Emma Brown with today's national anthem, and that is your first look at the new first baseman of the St. Louis Cardinals, making his Cardinals debut this afternoon, Paul Goldschmidt. He will wear number 46 for St. Louis. And let's hear from the newest Cardinal, Paul Goldschmidt, and what he brings to St. Louis.
We're playing a team game. It's not about me. It's about this team, and you know that keeps things simple and keeps the ego out of the way. And I mean, anytime you want to have success, any team goals that have been accomplished from World Series to anything else, I mean, that's what the biggest joy is.
Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin, and partner, that guy right there, six-time All-Star.
Yeah, let's hope he gets more joy this year and has that experience of playing on a winner, and he's going to be a big part of that. He does appear, and by all accounts, everybody that's ever met him really talk about him as a humble guy, and he's just going to fit right in St. Louis. I know Cardinal fans are going to enjoy him. They're going to enjoy the way he plays first base, too. The Cardinals' defense, Dan, as we've talked about during the winter, has really been jacked up. It's certainly up a few rungs because of Goldschmidt's addition on the right side of the infield.
Four-time Silver Slugger, three-time Gold Glover. And there's a look at Michael Wacha, free agent to be, highly motivated coming into this season.
Well, you'd hope that every player's motivated coming into spring training. It's a long winter for these guys. They want to get back out competing, doing the thing they love. But in Wacha's case, of course, being a bit short last season because of injury, just 15 games. But look at the ERA, 3.2. He was pitching extremely well, very consistently. And the key always for Wacha, Dan, is that first pitch strike. And also getting outs with that changeup. His changeup, when right, is dynamic.
Washington Nationals, their first visit to Jupiter and Roger Dean Stadium. A year ago, they were 82-80. They had a very strong finish to their second half, and it's a Nationals club minus Bryce Harper. Their lineup, Trey Turner, Eaton, Dozier, Matt Adams, Robles, Stevenson. Also a part of their lineup. A lot of guys that have a chance to make this club. Some of the regulars in there, Sanchez, Taylor, and Severino. This is an exciting player right here in Trey Turner as he lines it towards center field. And going back, making the catch. No, yes, he did. That's Lane Thomas, who made an impression in the ball game yesterday. Lane Thomas, a nice play in center field.
Well, he's playing shallow. Turner has good power, but we see right off the bat here in this game today that Thomas can play some center field. No, that's not Harrison Bader. That's Lane Thomas.
Nice play. And Wacha appreciates that.
I can promise you that would have been a triple.
With the speed of Trey Turner, no doubt. Here's Adam Eaton in year 3 in Washington. He has been injured, nearly a year removed now from surgery on an ankle, and 2 years from a full ACL tear, meniscus tear, and a high ankle sprain. He just has not been able to be healthy, and he would be one of the candidates to play right field to fill in for the departure of Bryce Harper, if indeed he does sign somewhere else. Here's a 1-1 pitch, and now time is called, and you can see the pace of Michael Wacha. We love that. He's always been a guy that has worked very quickly. Pitch clock for him, no problem. He loves it.
Well, as we talked yesterday, Dan, the pitch clock's going to be a problem for batters, not pitchers. Pitchers are typically waiting for hitters to be ready. And in this case with Eaton, I just think it was a little too quick for him. He wasn't ready.
And a count of 1 ball and 2 strikes. Swing and a miss on a nasty changeup. Blocked by Pena. First strikeout of the day for Michael Wacha. The Cardinal defense will start in the outfield. In left field for Mike Shilt's club, Tyler O'Neill. Lane Thomas, we saw him in center. Dexter Fowler, first start, he's in right. Matt Carpenter is at third base. Edmundo Sosa, he's at short. Jairo Munoz at second. We mentioned Goldschmidt, he's at first base. Francisco Pena behind the plate. Michael Wacha on the mound. And that'll bring in Brian Dozier, finished up last season with the LA Dodgers. And Dozier, first pitch swinging, popped up into shallow left center. Caught by Thomas. Matt Carpenter, the leadoff man for the Cardinals. 36 home runs a year ago. Carp leads it off when we come back. Move to the bottom of the first along with Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin, and wherever you may be, we hope you're enjoying our telecast from Roger Dean Stadium. Carpenter, Fowler, Goldschmidt, O'Neill, Robinson, Munoz, Thomas, Pena, and Sosa, the lineup for St. Louis. Matt Carpenter telling me the other day he's looking for consistency. Slow start, slow finish last year, but the middle might have been the MVP.
Unbelievable middle. You know, it's interesting, his spring training last year, players he was talking about trying to get 60 at-bats every spring. But he got him in bunches because he had kind of a slow start, didn't play a lot for a while, and started kind of piling up those at-bats at the end, and that may have kind of hurt his consistency.
Big City, nice play. Pitcher Eric Fetty covering the bag. And Carpenter retired for the first out. There's Matt Adams, a good buddy. Nice play, taking a hit away from Matt Carpenter.
Well, Matt Adams has always had good hands. Cardinal fans know that he's a better fielder than people give him credit for. And I know he was thrilled to be a Cardinal last year. Did not really swing the bat very well in St. Louis. He averaged under 200. But the Nats were happy to have him back again. He's in great shape. Has worked himself into a different body type, playing first base, and is a threat.
Here's Dexter Fowler, the switch hitter. Dexter has really built a very good relationship with Mike Shildt, the Cardinal manager. For whatever reason, it just did not work under Mike Matheny, and he and Dexter Fowler have come together, and they're on the same page. It was a tough year a season ago for Dexter, batting in the second spot in the lineup. It'll be interesting to see how it works out this year. So he takes a ball high, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Mike was asked about what he is looking for from Dexter here in camp. And he said, we want to see, the hard contact. It's one thing if you hit 400 in spring training, but it's a lot of dribblers here, dribblers there. But if you hit 150 in spring training, but you're hitting rockets everywhere, it's the contact and how you go about your business and what you're seeing off the bat.
And that's where the eye test really supersedes the numbers, and especially when you're talking about 50 or 60 at-bats in spring training. Does he have good balance at the plate? Is he getting good swings, making hard contact, as you say? That's what matters. Is he chasing? Does he understand the strike zone? Is he being smart about what pitches he offers at? Those are the kinds of things that Michael Gersh will be looking for.
Full count on Dexter Fowler, right fielder today. And a swing and a miss. A strikeout of Dexter. And there's 2 away, and now it's Paul Goldschmidt. Can you imagine the ovation at Busch Stadium the first time?
Thinking the same thing. I know he's excited about what just happened. I mean, of course, he's a professional. He's been around this game a long time, but to be appreciated like that here in spring training at bat number 1.
Takes it the other way. Out to deep right, and that'll stay in the ballpark. He's got tremendous power to right field. Sent it to the track. Cardinals go in order. Michael Wacha back to work when we come back.
Travel trade.
You know, something about Paul Goldschmidt. He's hit 52 of his 209 career home runs in the first innings of his games, and he almost hit one out there.
See how the ball just jumped off of his bat. He's been hitting some prodigious home runs already here this spring, and he was very close, Dan, to giving us a thrill in that bat number 1.
Nearly did, and so the Cardinals go in order, and it brings in Big City Matt Adams. Couple of different stints with the Cardinals. Was signed midway through the offseason by the Washington Nationals. You don't come back to your original team unless you're a good person both on and off the field. And we know that about Big City.
Yeah, there's no secrets about that, right? I mean, John Mabry was a Cardinal 3 times. And the reason he kept coming back is because everybody loved John Mabry as a teammate. And if they know who you are, there's no reason they're going to ask you back again.
Popped up against the shift. Long way to go. And in foul territory, the catch is made. That's the shortstop, Amendu Sosa, with that play.
You know, 3 Cardinals on the right side of the infield, so much easier play for Bob Henley, the third base coach for the Nats, but Sosa's able to make the play. One thing I'm going to be looking for here this afternoon, and we hope that there's some chances of balls hit on the left side, but Matt Carpenter's arm. I think that's going to be a story this spring. He's making the move to third base, move back to third base, and I know he's been throwing well, and he says he's been throwing better than he has in the last 5 or 6 years, so look forward to seeing that.
And playing in with the speed of Victor Robles. So much potential with this young man. Good breaking ball. We've seen that. We've talked about it a lot with Michael Wacha. The attention goes to the changeup, but that has gotten better year after year, that pitch.
Knee buckler. You saw the opening up of Robles and the pitch coming over the middle of the plate. No chance to hit that.
Really, the attention last year went to Juan Soto, but this time last year, many people talking about the guy at the plate with Washington, Victor Robles.
Well, he's their number 1 prospect, number 4 prospect in all of baseball, and he is the center fielder this year. And he would have been a guy that was ahead of Soto, except he had a hyperextended elbow, and that kept him out of action for most of the season a year ago. But this is going to be his chance to shine.
2-2 taken outside, so full count. Nationals went 82 and 80 a year ago. Munoz with this pitch moving towards second base. He is the second baseman today for the Cardinals, anticipating to pull, and that pitch misses, and it's a 1-out walk by Michael Wacha. Oh, to be on the backfields tomorrow and to watch what could happen for the St. Louis Cardinals, facing live hitters Alex Reyes, Andrew Miller, Jordan Hicks. That trio facing live hitters for the St. Louis Cardinals.
I'm sure there's not really a fight at the bat rack to be one of those live hitters.
Well, Mike
why
Schild,
don't you do it?
Well, Mike Schild asked me in the scrum. He said, Dan, do you want to do it? I said, not a chance. And then I said, well, how much you paying?
Well, they'd give you a batting helmet.
No thanks. Misjudged in right field by Dexter Fowler. That's over his head. Off the bat is Stevenson. They'll hold up the runner at third. And Stevenson winds up at second. Robles to third. And a chance for the Nationals here in the second inning.
Well, that ball really jumped on Dexter. He thought he was going to come in, took a step in, and then was too late to go back. Just didn't have the proper read. And, you know, Dexter obviously spent a lot of his time in his career playing center field, and he never really got comfortable in right field, and that's what you really hope maybe will happen this spring training.
So runners at second and third, and it brings in Adrian Sanchez. Cardinals bring in the infield a few steps. Sanchez, the third baseman. The everyday third baseman for Washington. The longtime third bagger will be Anthony Rendon, who has been open to an extension with the Nationals. And the Nationals, if we've seen, is they have not been shy about spending money at all. Quickly, no balls and 2 strikes. Signing a free agent lefty. The Corbin deal, Patrick Corbin, 6 years, $140 million. Of course, they went out and got Max Scherzer a number of years ago. They talked about the extension that was on the table for Harper, at least $300 million. So they've spent money. No balls, 2 strikes, and the next from Michael Wacha. Outside.
Almost seems, Dan, as if they went out and got 8 players for the price of 1. You've got Gomes and Suzuki behind the plate, who are going to alternate as catchers. You got Kyle Bearclaw in the bullpen, who at times can be a dynamite, the former Marlin. And you know, they have not been shy about signing people. It's just they were shy about signing Mr. Harper.
Hit on the ground to short. Sosa was playing back. A run will score. And that makes it 1-0 Washington. On the ground ball by Sanchez, Robles scores 1-0 Nats. Brings in Chuck Taylor. He's had an impressive line of shoes along the way.
I wore those in high school.
As did I.
Had the high tops with we had actually white Chuck Taylors for home and black ones for away.
You think you would have not sprained your ankle?
They were kind of flimsy, I would say.
They were very flimsy. I always wondered, why did they have the high top version?
You could lace them up, though, but
I know. But it was for look.
More like a tourniquet.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes.
Didn't help you at the ankle. At least I didn't think so. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Good changeup again.
I'm not sure I had the best vertical with my Chuck Taylors either.
Well, you had so many girlfriends, it was more for look than it was for your ankles.
Of course.
And really, that's still the case as we went down to tape our open, and all those ladies were trying to get pictures with you and autographs. It's amazing.
Yes, they all wanted them for their grandkids.
Well, that could have been the case. You're a very popular man down there.
We had fun, didn't we?
Oh, we did. Lots of fun here at spring training, as it always is. I did advise, though, some of them. I said, if you get here early, I'm not sure what time it's going to happen, but head to the back fields and watch that trio throw.
Yes.
That is a treat. You'll be up front to see those 3 pitchers throw. That's fun to watch. Couple of hops hit to first. Taken there by Paul Goldschmidt. Steps on the bag. Midway through 2. Nationals have an early 1-0 lead. Your tickets through the 5-game bobblehead pack or as a single game ticket, and they're on sale now at Cardinals.com. Tyler O'Neill. First look at Tyler. Did not work out much in the offseason. I know the Cardinals were really upset about that. He decided to bench press the stadium when he got here.
Oh my goodness, what a body this guy has. He works very hard. Of course, we've talked a lot last year. His father, a champion weightlifter in Canada, and he grew up in that whole culture. And he's been able to translate that into hitting the baseball pretty far. I think he's been really under talked about. Everybody's saying, well, he's going to go back to AAA and we'll see what happens. I think he has a chance to get to that next level and be an impact back in 2019. I think we shouldn't take him lightly.
It's a ball and 2 strikes. Ricky, as you know, the production team of the Cardinals down here early, Matt Shedd and Jared Hawkup and Craig Wilson, and they went and cut a commercial with Tyler wearing one of the promotional shirts coming up, and it was in the gym with Tyler O'Neill. So they got behind the scenes with Tyler working out, and so we got the chance to watch the workout. They come back with the footage, and as you know, I do some of the promotional work for the Cardinals.
I thought you were going to say you work out with Tyler.
No, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
And I looked at it, and he's doing these bench presses, okay? And so they do it where he's bench pressing, and it's just one arm, and then they go back to just the one arm on this side. And I said, hold on, whoa, roll that thing back. And here's Drew Robinson, who had a couple of hits yesterday.
You're going to tell me how much it was.
I didn't know how much it was. I do know this. They said it was the last available dumbbell.
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever that was, 100 or 100 plus, as Robinson sends that foul. I said, wait a minute, how much was that thing? And he's boom, boom, boom. I said, this guy is ridiculous. And he is just pounding these things out. And they said, Dan, all I can tell you, he's really strong. He's really in shape. And by the way, he's a really nice guy. I said, I'm not going to argue. But he was very nice in letting us get behind the scenes with that. And you're going to see throughout the year with some of our promotional spots, the Cardinals are trying to promote the players a little bit more. The players are wanting to get more access for us to get the fans to see behind the scenes. And the guys in our crew did a great job with that. You'll see that on social media and some of the commercials. And then, it's a chance to let the fans, pull back the curtain a little bit and see that. There's a base hit into right center. And Robinson thinking two. Mishandled in right center. Touches second. On his way to third. Diving in, and it's a triple with one out for St. Louis. Andrew Robinson. Off to a good start.
We talked about the Cardinals bench having 14 hits yesterday. Of the Cardinals 20, Robinson had 2 of them. So now he has a single, double, and triple, and he shows off his speed as well. Robinson in line for a utility role, being a guy that can play both the infield and the outfield.
So one out, and now Munoz, and he taps it foul. Cardinals president of baseball operations John Mozeliak will be our guest in the 3rd inning. So Tyler O'Neill with a strikeout. Drew Robinson, who was picked up in the offseason from Texas, who had a couple of hits yesterday with a triple, and now Jairo Munoz. The infield is back, and he could tie it up and falls behind 0-2. Munoz played all over the diamond for the Cardinals a year ago. Saw him at third base, shortstop, second base, even a little outfield a year ago for St. Louis.
It's the second time in this game we've had a hitter step out, and you wonder about the pitch clock and maybe how that feels for them as it comes down to the end of that 22nd. Again, there are no penalties at the moment. That may be addressed at the end of spring training, but as of now, the umpire is just going to pay attention to it. And I think, again, the hitter has more impact, Dan, on being ready than the pitcher does.
One ball and 2 strikes. Munoz chops it foul past Pop Warner, who will be the third base coach this year for the Cardinals. Longtime minor league coach and manager, and now third base coach this season for Mike Schultz.
So happy for him that he's getting this opportunity. He's a terrific guy and a good baseball man. Been around, as you said, a long time in the Cardinals system, and he's going to do a terrific job.
Ron Pop Warner. Munoz chases, and the Cardinals have their 3rd strikeout. One thing in spring training that we talk about an awful lot, the look at young players, and the Cardinals very high on Lane Thomas, who, if you just joined us, made a very fine play defensively in center right off the bat to start this game.
Thomas also had 3 hits yesterday, and he hit 21 home runs last year in the minor leagues at the highest levels, AA and AAA. It doesn't really look like a home run hitter as you look at him, but clearly has the strength to do that.
Thomas, couple of hops, hit to short, and the play is made. Cardinals strand a runner. President of Baseball Operations, John Mozeliak, our guest when we come back. One to nothing. The Nationals have the lead. Top of the third. Game 2 of 15 on Fox Sports Midwest, and our chance to visit with John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations for the St. Louis Cardinals. And Mo, always good to visit with you. We appreciate your time. And let's start with a general question. How you think that camp has been going so far?
You know, I think the general feel of this camp has been very positive. I think you can tell when you're down here, there's a lot of energy. You know, obviously it's exciting time. It's Mike Shilt's first full spring training as manager, and I think all of us are getting to see how much time he and his staff have put into their preparation. And, you know, clearly we're only in game 2, so there's a lot of things that still are going to happen. But I think overall, the buzz at this camp has been very positive.
Mo, I assume you're no different than players, coaches, and all of us in your position as the president of baseball operations, that the winter can't get over fast enough before you can actually come out and get back on the field again and watch our favorite game.
You know, I've been doing this a long time, and certainly I understand the importance of the offseason as you are preparing and trying to build a roster that you think will be competitive. But there is something about being down here that makes it so special. And to put a little bit of that discussion of free agency and who you're going to trade for behind you and now go out and play baseball, you're right. It's very welcoming.
Anybody stand out so far in camp for you? I know the games are just starting, but anybody catch your eye so far?
Well, I think yesterday, I think we all were excited to see what we saw at Helsley. As you guys both know, over a year ago, we were talking about him as someone that could be in the mix for our bullpen at some point in 2018. And to see what you saw yesterday, I think now you guys know why we were saying that. So I think that stood out to me. And, you know, of course, we got a lot of young talent in this camp, and that's always part of spring training where some of these young players are going to get an opportunity to open up somebody's eyes.
And it has to be something, Mo, that you're proud of when you start thinking about all these big arms that continue to come up.
And that is off the wall, fielded by Thomas. Quickly back into the bag at second, and just in safely is Pedro Severino. But that's one of the young players out there in Lane Thomas.
He's an exciting player.
Yeah.
As you pointed out, he all of a sudden showed he had power last year. But from a defensive standpoint, he's an elite defender. He's got speed. He has arm strength. And if that power continues to play, he's gonna open up some eyes at the major league level.
Back to the pitching, though, Mo, talking about the Helsley, and of course we've seen several other big arms, Jordan Hicks in recent years, and Genesis Cabrera is another guy that you're high on.
We are, and you know, he's not a household name for the Cardinals yet because he was a player that we acquired in a trade last year to Tampa Bay. But big arm, I think the arm will get bigger in the bullpen. I think you know, obviously we got to be careful on how we think about utilizing some of these players and making sure that we do stretch them out. But Cabrera is one of those kind of arms that could be very exciting late in the game, especially from the left side.
You've got Miller, Hicks, and Reyes throwing. Mike Schilt was telling us on the backfields tomorrow, and that's Daniel Ponce de Leon, for those that don't know, on the mound now after Waka with 2 innings today. So those 3 throwing on the backfields tomorrow against live hitters. Can you give us an update on Miller, Hicks, and Reyes, and just how they're progressing physically and where they're at?
You know, all 3 are in good spots. Clearly, when you look at the depth of our pitching right now, I think the biggest challenge for Mike and his staff is going to be getting everybody the right amount of innings as you prepare for the season. And so when you're looking at guys like Ponce de Leon, who you figure will either be starting or in the bullpen, how do you prepare? And I think it's much easier to try to build them up and then take them back if you need to. But unfortunately, in spring training, you don't get to hit the reset button after a day is gone. And so you got to really take advantage of it. And I think in Schulte's case, he's just trying to make sure that early on we get everybody the type of work they need to move forward.
Reyes right now, everybody's so excited about him, Mo. Can you kind of give us an idea of how he's progressing and what you're looking at with Alex Reyes as that's popped up into foul ground on the right side?
I guess I would explain it as sort of like this cautious optimism, right? Because there's no doubt, I think all of us who have gotten to see him throw know he's a very talented pitcher, but we would all agree for 2 years he has not produced at the major league level because of injuries. And so, you know, he wants to just be part of like a normal camp. He just wants out of the rehab program. He wants into some normalcy and know that he's going to break with a team. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do this spring for him. But, you know, obviously an exciting arm, a very talented guy. And no matter what role he's in with us, I think he's going to be a very productive pitcher.
Can you say, though, that he's going to be, with his situation and how he's been physically, is it advantageous to have him one role or another for him, or is it tough to say because of where he's been with, you know, with the ailments that he's had? Is it better to be a reliever or a starter, or is it too tough to tell?
Well, I think in any decision-making type of model, you want, you know, science or logic to define it. And I think when you're talking about a starter versus reliever, and you get everybody to weigh in on it, whether it's from the medical staff, from the baseball people, I still don't see like a clear answer on what's best. And so I think for him, I think what we would like to see him do is try to stretch him out this spring and see how he responds. But if we do end up putting him in the bullpen, I think we're going to have to be very, very smart on how he's used. And, you know, for me to tell you what that roadmap looks like today, it's really hard to, because I just don't know how he's going to respond.
Sure.
Well, Mo, you can't talk about Cardinal personnel without mentioning the catcher that we've had the joy of watching play over the last decade with the game's best, Yadier Molina. What can you tell us about when we'll see him getting into regular action behind the plate and at the plate?
So as oddly as this may sound, I think this is the best news we could possibly have, because we certainly struggle with managing his innings during the season, and now we have the perfect opportunity to manage him in spring training. Because
good luck with that.
Well, that's my point. Normally he'd be like wanting to catch yesterday,
right?
And you know, he has taken a very strategic approach to spring training, and it'll be sometime in mid-March when you start to see him behind the plate. I think he's looking at this as like the ability to catch his breath. At some point, though, I think he's going to want a DH. That's my bet, and I bet that's sooner rather than later.
I bet. You got the chance to sign Jose Martinez to a 2-year extension. In your line of work, how cool is that sometimes to do that for a guy that, when you think of his backstory of the knee and how long it's taken him to get to the major leagues, and just in the human element of a guy that's worked so hard to get here, and then I've talked to him about it. He's like, man, I never wanted to be traded from the Cardinals. I always wanted to be here and be a Cardinal. He was in Mike Schilt's office up until the last second of the trade deadline, and there he is, shockingly hiding behind people and keeping it loose in the dugout. But you signed him, Mo. I mean, just the human element of signing him to a 2-year deal.
So it's the first time I've ever done something like this, because historically you would just slot him in with all the 2+ players and you just move on, right? And the more we started thinking about Jose, what he meant to this team, and you know, his certain situation being back home in Venezuela, and what his earning power may or may not look like in the future, it's a small window. And so we decided that we were going to give him some upfront money to give him some security, and you know, he was very excited to do it. He couldn't have been more gracious, and you know, very rarely do you get to do something that's like the right thing, and this was.
Has he talked about it all, Mo? And I don't want to get too personal about this, but I'll ask, is he said anything about being able to maybe move his family out of Venezuela and try to get them here to the States?
You know, we didn't get into specifics on what he might do with his dollars, but he was certainly grateful he has those dollars.
Yeah.
And, you know, more importantly, you know, he's certainly very self-conscious of what's going on back in Venezuela, and whatever he can do to help his family, he certainly wants to do that.
Sure.
Mo, I assume in your line of work over the years, you've had to learn which players you can do that with too. Is that part of your decision-making process, whether it's free agents or extending contracts, to say, is this player going to respond to that and get better, or is he going to just kind of go backwards? Is that something that you look at as maybe an intangible?
So normally, whenever you're giving guaranteed money, you always think about, well, how's someone going to deal with that? But in this particular case, it didn't even factor into my mind, because I just knew that he was going to be extremely grateful for this. And in terms of how he's going to go about working, I know he's going to be someone that's a positive player on this team moving forward.
It's a wild pitch, and Severino comes around to score, so it's been a double, back-to-back walks. Brian Dozier is at the plate, and it makes it a 2-0 Washington lead. We haven't even talked about Adam Wainwright. Have you had a chance to watch many of his bullpens? He'll make a start on Tuesday, but how's Adam look to you?
I haven't really spent a whole lot of time looking at him. I've just paid attention to how he's feeling, and most importantly, he feels good. And I think mentally he's in a great spot. He definitely wants to be someone that is contributing to this rotation, but he also knows if that doesn't happen, he still wants to be a part of this club. And the one thing you got to say about Adam, he could have went into this free agent market and perhaps found some other place to be, but he's a Cardinal. He wanted to be a Cardinal, and he was willing to bet on himself. In other words, it's a very incentive-laden contract that he could have maybe gotten more guaranteed money somewhere else, but he's happy to be in St. Louis, and we're grateful to have him.
Of course, we're talking a lot about Paul Goldschmidt in Cardinal Nation and been doing it all winter. I'm curious, Mo, if you were conscious, of course, he's a great offensive threat, but are you conscious of the fact that the team that is being built this year may be a little bit higher level defensively? Certainly he's part of that, but Bader in center field, is that part of the game plan to shore up the defensive side?
The answer is absolutely. One of the things I've been trying to avoid is talk about past seasons narratives, right? In other words, I want last year, the year before that, to just be something that we look back on, but not something we focus on. We knew we had to do something different, right? It didn't work. And so we had the opportunity to add a Gold Glove first baseman, which naturally is going to make everybody in the infield better. You mentioned Bader to shore up our center field defense. That's going to be very strong. So I think just naturally, this club is going to be a very good team defensively, and I think that's a healthy thing to do. But when you look at it and you take a step back and say, okay, good, they can catch the ball, but most of these guys can hit too, and that's big part of the
part of it. You bet it is.
Have you seen Carpenter throw much from third? Does his arm look better?
It looks great. I mean, I will say that's one of the bigger surprises, I would say, of camp, and just watching him, how he's been able to really put himself in a great spot physically. And I think he was very conscious of what he did this offseason. Maybe the word is intentional. And you think about Matt Carpenter's career, he's been asked to do a lot of different things and never complains, always welcomes it, and now he's playing third base. But I think all of you guys, when you see him make a throw, you're going to be like, huh, that was not last year.
Yeah.
We've touched on a lot of players, and maybe the guy that has the highest level of concern among a lot of fans that I'm talking to is Carlos Martinez, and just how serious is his kind of shutdown right now? Is that something you're concerned about, and where do you expect that he's going?
I'm not overly concerned based on what I'm being told from a medical standpoint, but reality is there's a pattern, right? And we need to figure out a way to how to break the pattern. And I think from a medical standpoint, these guys are going to have to work very hard downstairs to figure out what we need to do differently. And I assure you, they're thinking about it. They get it. But he's a talented young man, and the question I probably get more than anything, other than just am I concerned, is what can we expect him to do and in what role? And it's always hard to answer until you know where he is physically. But I think the next 3 weeks are going to be critical for him, and I think it's going to be really telltale on what he ends up doing for us as we move forward.
I like him as a closer, Mo. I just want to put my 2 cents in there, okay?
Oh, you're worth more than that.
Okay,
that's
thanks.
A couple of bucks, maybe.
Easy, Ricky.
Thank you, Mo. Mo, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. That meant a lot to me. Here's Matt Adams, who the Cardinals traded for at the end of last season. Had a couple of good moments again for St. Louis, and then re-signed with Washington. So the bases are loaded. A lot of fans curious about Marcell Ozuna, and we've seen him hit shoulder. You went down to the Dominican right before camp opened up, Mo, and then obviously camp opened up, and he's been not limited with the bat, and you've seen him throw a little bit. Can you give our fans an update on Marcell?
So, yeah, touching first on the offensive side, because I don't think we have any concerns there. He has responded well to his procedure from an offensive standpoint, swinging the bat, cleared to go. I do think, in terms of how he's throwing, that we need to see that pace pick up a little bit. It's always sort of odd to say this, but as we sit here on the 24th of February, the season starts in a month. It's going to come quick, and you just don't want to have it where you're almost sort of stuck in neutral and you're not aggressively pushing, because come that third week of March, he's got to be out there throwing, and that's what we have to see. But good news is we have a lot of depth. We can be patient, but I still think there's a level that we need to keep that foot on the gas.
Would you expect with Goldschmidt in the lineup that players like DeYoung, Ozuna, others might be able to maybe be more of it? Now, I'm not going to say a role player, but they don't have to be necessarily the guy, which Goldschmidt surely will be.
That's out to right center. The catch is made again by Lane Thomas, covering ground out there, and another run will score to make it 3-0.
So, Ricky, anytime you add that type of bat in a lineup, you're naturally hoping it's making people in front or behind better, because simply put, it just deepens everything. And so when you take somebody, you put them in the 2 or 3 or 4 hole, it just stretches things out, and someone that might have been in the 6 is now in the 7, someone in the 7th is now in the 8th, which just naturally makes you stronger. And I also think he's one of those types of players that gives other people more confidence, and that was one of those things when you're trading for someone you don't know, but you watch how people respond that are around Goldie, and it's been pretty impressive.
I'm curious, Mo, if that is supported by both analytics and the eye test. The baseball people saying yes, that's true about the game, but do analytics support that?
Yes, because naturally, anytime you're adding a 850, 900 OPS into a lineup, it's, again, going to take pressure off of others. And so ultimately, it will naturally make people better, and it'll make your lineup deeper and stronger. So, like, the more you can do in terms of on base and slug into your lineup, the better off you're going to be.
Real quick question, Mo. With Dexter, what are you looking out for this spring with Dexter Fowler? Fans are curious about that, too.
Dex has had a very good camp. More importantly, had a great offseason, right? He didn't allow the injury to limit him in terms of how he was preparing. He came in strong. His attitude's been great, and, expectations are for him to be the guy we traded for. So we're excited.
We're excited to have you here. It's fun. Thanks, Mo. You want to stick around, or do you want to, just hang with us, or what? He's going to stick around. 2 outs. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin, and John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations, kind enough to finish off the inning with us. And lefty Chasen Shreve making his spring training debut, and this will be one of the better battles in camp, the left side of the bullpen. And a little weak ground ball foul, and Mo, that really will be one of the battles, won't it? The left side of the bullpen.
I think the whole bullpen will be quite competitive.
Yeah.
But, as we watch a lefty throw here right now, clearly, when you look at how the bullpen's going to shake out, whether we go with 7 or 8, this day and age, everybody seems to want 8. So, I don't know if I'm going to win that fight. But having said that, what does that look like from the left side? And I think Andrew Miller, you almost just push off as sort of his own standalone, just because he can be used anywhere, high leverage, late in the game. But what are we going to be looking at in the midpoint of a game, and who would we go with? And so I think there's a lot of guys that are, they're competing for a few spots. So it's going to be very competitive. The one thing that always ties your hands when you're thinking about roster construction is who has options and who's out. And so that is something that we have to be cognizant of, too, because it's not necessarily just the top 8 make it, because we may want to have to make a decision based on who we can keep under control for a longer period of time.
And ball scoots by Francisco Pena. So 1 ball and 2 strikes. Brett Cecil came into camp in shape. You had a good outing from Tommy Lane yesterday. You got Shreve here. You mentioned Miller. And there's other lefties that are battling as well. So that is a spot that no doubt is, you know, a lot of guys battling for a couple of spots, maybe 3 spots before it's all said and done.
I certainly think it's possible. Again, just keeping Andrew in that sort of secondary class there.
Sure.
But, you know, for the most part, the guys have been looking good when you look at like what's been happening on the backfield, and that's positive. But a lot of baseball games to play between now and the time we have to make a decision. But I assure you, like, the front office side of things is we have to understand that not everybody might make this club, and so there might be some things that we have to do at the end of this sprint camp to really sort of organize that 40-man roster.
Gomber is a guy too. I mean, you could look at him as being a starter or a reliever. How does the organization view him right now as we talk in late February?
Well, I think it's critical for him to get innings right now. Again, you can always go shorter later, but to stretch him out is most important.
Mo, thanks so much.
Thanks,
we
Mo.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Guys. Always a pleasure.
A lot of stuff covered. We appreciate it. John Mozeliak, 4-0 Nets. Cardinal fans, spring training is here, and on MLB.tv. Watch select spring training games live on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply for regular season games. Visit MLB.tv for details. Sometimes it just works out perfectly. We're unfortunately went against the Cardinals, but
Yes.
these don't count in the standings unless you're, you know, really a guy that loves, or a girl that loves Grapefruit League standings. But you get those long innings and you get a lot of info from Mo, and that's good stuff.
Yeah, good time to have Mo up here was in that inning, because that was not a pretty inning. Those
boy.
runs scored on just 1 hit in that inning, 4 runs on 2 hits for the Nats, and Daniel Ponce de Leon just did not have his command, and you could see him struggling to try to throw a strike, and he worked at it, just didn't happen. And so a rough day for him. You know, I did talk to Brian Eversgerd about yesterday's game, where the Cardinals put the big numbers up, and we were chatting about how, as baseball people, wins don't matter in spring training, but losses do. I mean, you wouldn't want to be on the other end of that. So
That's right.
you can't kind of get too excited about the win yesterday, although a lot of good things happened, and you know, you don't get trophies for it, but you wouldn't want to sit there as a manager through a day where your team gives up 20 hits either.
This is Austin Voth, now the new pitcher in for the Nationals. There's a look at Paul Goldschmidt for Cardinal fans. Their first look in Cardinal red and the birds on the bat, and he fly to deep right for those of you just joining us. His first time up. Francisco Pena back with St. Louis. First time up. Kind of a tough inning on him too. You don't like to be the catcher behind there too, and seeing your pitcher struggle. Had a couple of wild pitches against him, and there's the career numbers for Goldschmidt making his first start today. 2-2 hit the other way, and backing up a step or two, Chuck Taylor to make that catch, and there's one away. John Gant, who is out of options, begins to throw in the Cardinal bullpen. Curveball drops in for a strike on Edmundo Sosa.
It was a good start for Eric Fetty, who is in a bit of a battle for that 5th starting spot in the Nationals rotation. I think this Washington team, Dan, might be better than some people think. They're actually projected by Pecota to win 89 games and win the East. And that's after not signing Bryce Harper. So they have had those additions that you talked about earlier, some pretty key and big names, and their rotation's going to be solid.
And a swing and a miss. Sosa strikes out. The Cardinals have struck out 4 times, first time through the lineup.
But anyway you look at it, an 82-80 record for Dave Martinez and the Nationals last year was not good enough.
No, very disappointing.
100%.
And they've got a St. Louis native at the top of their rotation who is one of the best, if not the best, in all of baseball, and Max Scherzer.
Scherzer, Corbin, Strasburg. It's pretty good 1, 2, 3 in an important series, isn't it?
Strasburg, you know, always an issue for him is just staying healthy. At 2 stints on the DL last year. Behind him, Anibal Sanchez inked to a 2-year deal in late December. Tanner Roark went to Cincinnati. You got Joe Ross and Eric Fetty, who saw it today. They also inked a former All-Star Henderson Alvarez, signed to a minor league deal in November. Intriguing candidate for a potential spot in the rotation. Here's Matt Carpenter, grounded out to first, and he's 0 for 1. Tremendous season for Matt Carpenter with the 36 home runs. Had the historic day, you may recall, at Wrigley Field. Really, it wound up being one of the greatest days ever in the history of Cardinal baseball. Went 5 for 5. A couple of home runs. And if the Cardinals would have made it to postseason play, he would have been a candidate for MVP. Now, he would have had to finish stronger than he did in September, but would have been in the running for MVP.
And that's after hitting 160 the first couple months of the season.
Right, that's right.
How does that happen?
I thought Mo brought up a really good point. You know, the Cardinals have asked him to do a lot of different things. Second base, first base, go back to second base, now playing third base, be a leadoff hitter. I know you feel that he's probably best served maybe as a number 3 hitter in the lineup. But
although I understand what the numbers say.
That's right. And Mike Schild has said there's going to be no movement with Carpenter. He is going to be the everyday leadoff man going into 2019, and he's going to stay there. And he draws a 2-out walk. And that's something you can count on. A lot of pitches, a lot of walks from Matt Carpenter.
And you do want that out of your leadoff hitter. I mean, you certainly would say that that's part of that role. And Dexter Fowler's a guy that gets a lot of walks too. Matt Carpenter's afternoon is over. Got his 2 at-bats.
It's Tommy Edmond. He'll pinch run and stay in the game for Carpenter. Dexter Fowler struck out first time up. During the winter meetings, which were held in Las Vegas, the Cardinals had their front office there, also Mike Schild. They all went, had dinner with Dexter at his house, and then Mike Schild separately meeting with Dexter Fowler, and just, you know, wanted to have a one-on-one with him and get on the same page. And what can we do? What can I do? And then Dexter also, you know, what can I do to make this a better year 3, 4, and 5 going forward? And when he's right, Ricky, and going back to when he's had good years, he's been an on-base machine. You know, not a lot of power, not, you know, a guy that's going to hit 220, but a guy that, you know, he gets you to 260 to 270, but draws walks, gets on base. And if, let's just say, if he's hitting in the 2 spot, the versatility of a switch hitter.
Right. And the speed.
That's right.
And you look at his first year as a Cardinal, the power was there.
Right.
And the on-base percentage was still there. So he had, I mean, it's not like it was just a bad year for him, period. And whatever the reason, he got off to a slow start and it got slower. And he's playing right field and he just uncomfortable there, still learning how to do it. Then he was more uncomfortable at the plate, and it just, you know, things weren't going well around him for the team. Injuries and kind of burying themselves, digging a hole in the National League Central Division, a hole that they almost climbed out of. They did climb out of in August. But it was certainly a tough year emotionally for Dex.
The 2-1. Curveball misses down and in, and it's 3 balls and 1 strike. A shift on for the left-handed hitting Dexter Fowler in this situation. All kinds of room on the left side of the infield, and Fowler pops it up, flips his bat on the infield, and the catch is made by the shortstop, Trey Turner. Cardinals strand a runner. We played 3. It's 4-0. Four to nothing. The Nationals with a lead. And John Gant is the new pitcher for St. Louis. Such a valuable pitcher for the Cardinals a year ago. In the rotation, in the bullpen, and being stretched out right now here in camp. 19 games last year, 7-6. The ERA under 4. 114 innings. He's got the Vulcan grip on the changeup, and opponents only hit .216 against him a season ago.
He's another guy that we tend to forget about. You talk about all the big arms in the bullpen. You talk about the starting rotation, and you know he doesn't really get listed or talked about much in either combination. And so he's another one of those guys that just keeps pitching and doing whatever you ask him to do. And the ERA really good. Several, Dan, really good starts last year for St. Louis.
Really bailed the Cardinals out at times last year. So he's out of options, and a valuable guy, as we mentioned. Very important camp for him. Mike Myers also out of options. And we saw Mike Myers work exclusively out of the bullpen this time last year, and the velocity skyrocketed into the high 90s. At one point hitting triple digits for Mike Myers, and had a good year for St. Louis. 1 ball, 1 strike on Adrian Sanchez. And a fly ball lifted to center. Thomas with the catch. He's been busy today, and that's 1 out here in the 4th.
You know, there's an old spring training adage, which is so old it's actually not true anymore, which was don't pay attention to spring training statistics. Fool's gold. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter now. Guys are playing for jobs. They come in ready to compete day one. They understand that they may or may not extend their career based on what they do in this month's worth of games in Florida or Arizona. And it's a very different, higher level of competition here. And for a guy like John Gant, you know, he's not just getting work in. He's pitching right now.
I thought, and I don't know if you agree with this, but in our times of doing these games, you know, for some of these relievers and some of these pitchers, these are the most important games and innings starting now that I can remember in recent memory for these pitchers. It's important right now. You know, some guys come in and they start to say, well, I'm working on this, and you don't, as you mentioned, you don't worry about the ERA and if they're getting beat up, because they're working on something for the regular season. They know they've got the club made. For some of these guys, it's important to put up zeros.
And that's always been true too. There's a small group of people that, you know, look, if Yadier Molina hits 100 in spring training, guess who's catching on opening day?
Exactly.
And you'd say the same thing about several guys on the offensive side. But if you're battling for a position in a bullpen and your ERA's 8 in spring training, you may find yourself in AAA.
3-2 the count. You think about Gomber and Daniel Ponce de Leon, John Gant. There's a check swing on a 3-2 changeup, but they would be on many rotations for a lot of teams in baseball. And for the Cardinals, they would be maybe back end rotation or bullpen necessities for a lot of teams.
So it's only game 2. We're still just in February. But I would say there's a first impression that many people have, and you and I would be included, about Ryan Helsley.
Oh, he made an impression yesterday.
And maybe an impression about Daniel Ponce de Leon today. That maybe he's got to work on consistent. It's just one game, but you get those impressions pretty quickly. And it leads to either another opportunity or lack thereof.
3-2, and he just missed. A little bit low, and so the Cardinals have issued now 5 walks in the ball game today. First by Gant, 1-out walk. Pedro Severino. Well, you mentioned it, the Nationals, they had Matt Wieters for a couple of years, and they have upgraded their catcher's position. Yan Gomes, most notable, all-star with Cleveland. They went out and signed him. And so while the talk around Washington has been the fact that that gets by Pena, and an offer at the end of the year for Bryce Harper, reported by the Washington Post and other outlets, $300 million on the table for Harper, turned it down. They went out and spent a lot of money. Corbin, $160 million. You know, Gomes, big deal. Others that they felt that they had, you know, glaring needs at some different positions and spots, and they went out and spent money. You know, for my money, they're gonna be pretty good. I mean,
yeah,
they've got spots that they went out and filled.
No question. The Braves will be good again. They've got some question marks, I think, with their pitching staff in terms of depth, but the Braves have incredibly good young position players.
Pretty good third baseman too.
Mets will be, yes, the Mets will be interesting if their rotation stays healthy, which is always the question for them.
We got the bringer of rain at third base for Atlanta, former MVP that was with Toronto, finished up with Cleveland last year. Two-0 pitch to Severino. There's a strike, 2-1. Remember, John Gant was acquired from the Braves with the pitcher Chris Ellis, infielder Luke Dykstra, in the Jaime Garcia deal. Jaime announced his official retirement a few weeks ago. He did so much just to try to pitch every 5th day with his elbow and his shoulder. 2-1. Instead of check on the runner at second base. Outfield, he's straight away. A little bit low, 3-1.
Speaking of Jaime Garcia, reminds me of the wonderful opportunity we're going to have this summer. The Cardinal team is going to go to Mexico to play the Cincinnati Reds early, and it'll be in April, a 3-game series that would normally have been in Cincinnati. So that's going to be a unique opportunity. I love that. I love the thought of baseball expanding into other countries, and we're going to be a part of that this year.
Some talk that the Cardinals may be in London next season. Full count. I believe the Red Sox and Yankees will play in London this year.
And there's a lot of talk about the Cardinals wanting to play, if it's possible and if it's done, in Puerto Rico.
Right. What a celebration of the game that would be.
Oh boy,
with Yachty going back home.
Having played in that stadium in San Juan, if that's where it would be, every game's a celebration there. I mean, it really is a terrific environment.
Went with the changeup again on 3-2. Second walk issued by Gant. And it brings in Trey Turner. Often overlooked was the trade that brought Turner to Washington. It has to go down as one of the great deals in the last 4 or 5 years. Steven Souza Jr. to Tampa Bay in 2014. It was a 3-team deal, and it brought Joe Ross to Washington and a player to be named later, and that was Trey Turner. And Trey Turner is an outstanding player. Nats had a surplus of outfielders at that time. Turner had 43 stolen bases a year ago. That led the National League. And they believe that he can attempt 75 to 80 this year. That was the quote from Dave Martinez a couple of days ago. No player attempted 75 last year in either league. D. Gordon, the last to do it in 2017. He had 76 stolen bases. And Turner was talking about what Dave Martinez said. And he said, you got to remember that I was hitting in front of Bryce Harper, so I was reluctant to steal because Harper could hit a 2-run homer, so you don't want to miss that opportunity.
Saw that quote from Martinez as well this spring. So talk about the green light. He's telling them this year, you're going.
Go. The game has changed so much too, because the managers control so much of the running game. The pitchers have gotten so much better about holding runners on. Catchers are so good with throwing, catch and throw. I mean, it's hard to run in the game today. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Tough to turn two. Can they do it? 6-4-3 on the double play. Gant gets a ground ball. One of the fastest guys in baseball, Trey Turner, 4th fastest, according to StatCast. Grounds into a double play. 4-0 in the bottom of the 4th. It'll be Goldschmidt, O'Neill, and Drew Robinson. Cardinals with 1 hit today. That was Robinson in a triple back in the 2nd inning. Huge round of applause first time up for Paul Goldschmidt. About half the crowd a standing ovation for him as he fly to the track in deep right.
It was a fun moment. Walking to the plate, getting that reception. And one thing we know about playing against Goldschmidt is he uses the right side of the field very well.
You got to wonder if that was just natural or by design, playing at the ballpark played in at home.
And there's that drive warning track depth. And that's with the wind blowing in just a bit here today.
Ooh, we'd love to have that pitch back.
Get a good look at his bat speed on that last delivery.
Last season, his numbers get off to a very slow start, then picked it up and was one of the best hitters in all of baseball. 1-2 pitch. Nope. Taken down, 2-2. Some guys, as you've seen over the years, Rick, they design their swing to their home ballpark, playing 81 games at home, and some guys did that at Fenway Park over the years. Ball flies out to right in Arizona. Ball just flies anyway in Arizona. 2-2. And Goldschmidt 0 for 2 in his Cardinal debut. There's Tyler O'Neill, struck out his first time up. You mentioned it earlier, the fact that O'Neill, with his versatility, is going to have the chance to make this club, and his versatility is going to be a factor. Fowler had struggles last year. He can play right field. Bader at times would hit a right. He can play center field. He can play left.
And I think the other thing you get with Tyler O'Neill, if he's on your bench, you got a threat.
Out to deep right. And this will carry over the wall in right field. Tyler O'Neill, a home run opposite way. A line shot. That ball just kept on going. And Tyler O'Neill has his first home run of spring.
I'm shocked that that ball made it out in the right center. Short swing, hit it on the line. Looks like he thinks it may have been hit right on the nose, but when some guys hit the ball, Dan, it just kind of just dies, and other guys hit it and it just keeps going, and Tyler O'Neill's that kind of guy.
Up the middle, and the hot spring already for Drew Robinson continues. He's got a triple and now a single, and he's 2 for 2.
The point about your bench, Dan, you want a lot of things on your bench, and we've been discussing the fact that the bench is not really a bench anymore anyway. It's the guys that are going to play the last 3 or 4 innings of a game. Very seldom does somebody just sit on the bench and not participate on a daily basis the way bullpens are used, especially in the National League. But you want some power on your bench. You want that threat. If you're down 2 and it's the 9th inning, you don't want a singles hitter up at the plate.
And Munoz sends it out to right, and backing up to make the catch, Taylor. Robinson back to the bag at first, and there's 2 away. Our Budweiser What's on Tap. Remaining games on Fox Sports Midwest, and also the schedule as well. Opening day, don't forget, will be in Milwaukee. That game at noon. And that'll be an hour pregame beginning at noon. And our next telecast tomorrow against Detroit. Few off days for us, and then back at it next Saturday. So Robinson the single, Munoz a fly out to deep right, and now Lane Thomas. I've already seen enough out of Lane Thomas to take a harder look at what he can bring to the table for the Cardinals.
Looks like a player, doesn't he?
Sure does.
There's a story about Tommy Lane, not Lane Thomas, but Tommy Lane, that we saw yesterday. When Tommy Lane went to AAA Memphis last year, there was a particular job that was written on the board for that was usually young players had to go do it. And he was surprised he had to do it as a veteran player. And it was actually meant for Lane Thomas. He thought it was Lane, Thomas, but it was Lane Thomas. He hadn't met him yet. Didn't realize that he was not the one that was supposed to be doing that job. It was the younger, much younger Lane Thomas.
Wrong guy.
Wrong guy. Understandable.
Yes.
I believe it was one of those first pitch ceremony things. They have the young guys.
That's what
do
it was.
that.
Yeah.
We want Lane Thomas to do it.
And usually the young guys, they want to do it because it might, you know, put a few bucks in their pocket. They're thinking, hey, I'm okay with that.
Of course. And their pregame preparation is different if you're not starting.
That's right.
Which is why relievers love to be out there in those moments, because they've got nothing else to do.
I'd be okay with going down and catching a few of those too. If you're paying, I'm in. So give me your glove and count me in.
I think we should arrange that. Why not?
I'm down there. The 2-2 pitch. Lane Thomas at the plate. Oh boy. I don't know about you. I think a few of these breaking balls have fooled our home plate umpire.
I would agree.
On both sides. Robinson off with the pitch. 3-2, 2 outs. There he goes, and that one got him. Tyler O'Neill strikes for the first time in spring of 2019. A line drive finds its way over the wall in right. Cardinals get on
First hit.
2019 season features great giveaways all season long, and that features 6 jersey giveaways, and these include 2 embroidered jerseys and adult and kids alternate blue jersey giveaways and more. Tickets to some of the jersey giveaway game dates throughout our season are through the 10-game jersey packs, and you can buy them as a single game ticket as well. They're on sale now at Cardinals.com. Here's Adam Eaton. For fans that don't know, we have the blue jerseys this season on the Saturday away games. It's pulled foul by Adam Eaton. John Gant, second inning of work. Old buddy that is working for the Cardinals, Gary Robinson, the St. Louis native, went to Bill DeWitt. There it is right there. That's the Saturday jersey. The victory blue, the powder blue. There's a strikeout.
Not since 1984.
Willie McGee and Ozzie and Rick Horton.
Wait a minute. Let's say a different trifecta than that. You started out good. Jack Clark.
It's a heck of a trio.
Tommy Herr. Terry Pendleton. Vince Coleman.
Tito Landrum.
Danny Cox. John Tudor. All sporting the powder blue.
And so Kerry said to Bill DeWitt, he said, you know what, I'm on the road. He said, our younger fans, they've got to see him. And this is Brian Dozier, who's at the plate. That's kind of it right there from that era. He said, we've got to see him.
We did not wear our hats sideways like that.
No.
That would not have been kosher.
A shift on the infield here. And so Bill said, okay. Came up with the design, and it matches the home Saturday uniforms that the Cardinals wear, with St. Louis on the front. And you've got the powder blue, the victory blue, if you will. And they'll wear those on the road Saturday, and that'll be seen in the first series against Milwaukee. So Kerry and Bill got together, designed that uniform. We unveiled those at Ballpark Village. That's pulled down the left field line, foul. Every once in a while you would see those. Cardinals would have those out if a team was celebrating something from that era, a visiting team, or
a throwback.
Yeah, like
moment.
a throwback moment. I think we did it.
Milwaukee, I believe.
Yeah, 82. They were celebrating their 82 championship team that lost to the Cardinals in the World Series, but their AL championship team. The Cardinals were wearing the throwback uniforms of 82, and for some reason, I remember doing the games many years ago. We wore them in Tampa Bay. Now, why we were wearing them in Tampa Bay, I'm not sure. But I remember doing it in Tampa Bay. I was working on the radio side and doing a Star of the Game with Jason Isringhausen.
Maybe some type homage to having been in St. Petersburg for so long, perhaps.
Maybe. Izzy will be down here in early March working with many of the minor leaguers. There's a base hit for Brian Dozier. And he's wondering, am I going to get taken out of this game? You sure you don't want to take me out? I think I'm ready. I'm good. You want to take me out? I got a tee time in about, I don't know, 45 minutes.
He's lobbying.
You sure you don't want to take me out? I've been in the league a long time. Go ahead, Dave. Yeah, you ready? Yeah. Okay, who's the young guy in our roster?
Hey, if I can't play golf, you're not either.
He's leaning towards second. And that is off the glove of the second baseman for the Cardinals, Munoz, and a force play, nothing that Dozier could do.
He doesn't have to run anymore.
Now he'll definitely make that tee time.
There we go.
Nothing you can do about that.
Line drive hit on the nose. Of course, he's going back. He thinks that ball's caught. And rushing a little bit more than he had to was Munoz to get that force play at second base. But a nice defensive play.
Victor Robles. Two outs and a runner at first. I've said it a lot back home to folks and on radio interviews, and I know you've talked about the impact of Jason Isringhausen on the Cardinals and the young pitchers. Jason has a great impact both on and off the field with many of the Cardinal prospects, and many of those prospects have become now major leaguers. And he is up for the Cardinals Hall of Fame as well.
Another good class.
All-time saves leader in franchise history. But Keith Hernandez, Izzy, Matt Morris, Edgar Renteria, Scott Rowland, and John Tudor, all worthy. And that announcement will be at the 26th on Fox Sports Midwest. And a high fly ball lifted out to deep left field. It sends O'Neill back, and he'll make the catch. The edge of the track. 2 innings for John Gantz. It's 4-1. 4-1 as we move to the bottom of 5. Game number 2 of 15 on your home of Cardinals baseball, Fox Sports Midwest. And along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. This is Coda Glover. Appeared in just 21 games last year for Washington. Went 1-3.
There was a time where they named him in spring training as their closer, a guy that didn't really have experience doing that. And that closing situation has been one of those things that's been a problem for the Nationals the last 4 or 5 years. Bullpen in general doesn't mean they don't have good names down there. They just never have had the right flow. Here's your 7th inning guy, 8th inning, 9th inning. This guy's the closer. He's lights out. It's been a bit of a mystery for them, despite having some pretty big names.
And they did sign a former Cardinals closer. Has come back from injury, and that is Trevor Rosenthal. Line to left off the bat of Francisco Pena. Trevor still calls St. Louis home and worked out at the facilities at St. Louis University and worked out with many former Cardinals too, and coming back and re-signed or has signed, excuse me, with Washington. And
wish him the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Working with the former Cardinal pitching coach Derek Lilliquist, who is now with Washington. And so wish him the best, as Rick said, and I'm sure he'll have a very good year. Edmundo Sosa, the batter, making the start today for St. Louis at short.
One thing I thought was very important for Rosenthal was to sign early enough, Dan, not to be one of those guys that's just kind of out there. I think in his case, he needed to have a solid kind of entry into spring training and be a part of something, instead of the way many relievers are now, where they're just getting signed late, the way Greg Holland was last year. That would be probably the worst thing for Trevor Rosenthal.
I think a lot of relievers, maybe many people around baseball, learned a lesson with that. You need spring training. As Sosa hits it out of play. Sosa signed out of Panama in 2012 as a headliner in a loaded Cardinals international class that included Alex Reyes, Magneuris Sierra. He's had a number of injuries. Left wrist tendonitis in 2016. Broken hamate bone in 17, so it's delayed his progress. But he did have a healthy 18, moved quickly, jumped from AA to AAA, and did earn a major league call-up last year. Went 0 for 2 last year in the major leagues. Does have very good defensive tools.
Solid defensive player. That's absolutely right.
2 balls and 2 strikes. That's fouled back. Above average, no question about that. At shortstop, good speed, above average arm. And the count runs full on Edmundo Sosa. And he draws a 1-out walk. Here's Tommy Edman. You may recall the pinch ran for Matt Carpenter back into third after Carpenter walked.
I've been very, very anxious to watch Genesis Cabrera pitch.
Well, you're going to get your chance.
I don't have to be anxious any longer, do I?
No, sir. Tommy Edman, not a big guy. He's 5'10", 180. Signed out of Stanford in 2016. Climbed 3 levels to Double-A in his first full season. Then ascended to Triple-A in his second. Had 30 steals. Late break, but Sosa in there at second base.
That was a great read by Sosa. Ball did not get very far away from the catcher, but he could tell he didn't know where it was. He saw it behind him, so he took off right away. And even though the ball was close to Severino, he couldn't get it in time because of this break here. He took off. And that is a kind of base running fundamental that warms the heart of Mike Schilt and his coaching staff.
After watching Tommy Edman yesterday, I think you can envision him maybe filling that role that was Greg Garcia, and then before him Daniel Descalso. Kind of a similar swing.
Mentioned, yeah, he's got almost the sweeping swing of Daniel Descalso.
Can play short, can play second, can play third. They talk about him making all the plays up the middle. Just very solid defensively, but a utility type player.
And something that both Descalso and Garcia did not have, the ability to switch hit. That helps.
Greg Garcia now with San Diego. Daniel Descalso signed with the Cubs in the offseason. 3 balls and 1 strike.
Think about the games where Greg Garcia would get his once every 10-day start. It would be against some nasty left-hander, just because that was the time for whoever he was starting for to rest. And, you know, it's a little tougher.
Rips that foul, jumped on that 3-1 pitch, and it's a full count.
Little nicer crowd here yesterday. The crowd's will get bigger and bigger as spring training progresses, and they are enjoying a beautiful day in Jupiter.
And now it's another walk. So back-to-back walks.
There's talk of it being an all-time high as far as temperature.
I was just about to say that as I found out, and I should know by now, if you're going to bring your kids, you're going to go to the beach
and
load up on the sunscreen, Ricky.
And you're going to say that you did not.
Oh, I thought I did. A couple of days ago, as Dylan Carlson takes a ball down and in, I thought I did. Apparently I did not. And my forehead paid for it.
Yeah, it matches the red shirts we're wearing today.
Yes, sir. Dylan Carlson. Big kid, 6'3", 195. Top prospect for the Cardinals. Now, Jeff Carlson built a baseball powerhouse in 29 years. He was the coach at Elk Grove in California. Produced a bunch of big leaguers, and his son Dylan, program's highest player drafted. Cardinals picked him 33rd overall in 2016. And he's had a steady rise through the Cardinals minor league system.
He looks older than 20, doesn't he?
Yeah. He's in the top 10 of Cardinals prospects as he pops that foul. So a long way to go. Reyes still at #1, which bothers him, and you can understand why. He's been #1 for a long time.
Right.
Nolan Gorman, Kisner, Hudson, Montero, Torres, Nunez. There's Dylan Carlson, Lane Thomas, who's in the game today, and we're going to see Genesis Cabrera. One ball, 2 strikes with 1 out and 2 on. And Carlson hits it out of play.
And for those that may not understand the specifics of that, you're still considered a prospect if you're really still a major league rookie. I mean, there's some guys there that do have big league experience, including Reyes and Dakota Hudson. But it's really just a kind of an idea of who's got the top ceiling of guys that have not had their first official season as a rookie.
Pitch in the dirt, 2-2.
And that doesn't mean that high ceiling will take place this year, as is the case for some of the younger players like Gorman on that list. I mean, he's a can't miss guy, but not this year and not next year, but soon enough.
Two balls and 2 strikes. Way inside, full count. Can play both corner outfield positions. They talk about his arm, Ricky, being a plus, and I mean a plus arm.
That last delivery behind him. There's the pitch. Yeah, I would say that was inside.
I should have described it a little bit better. I thought it was inside, not that inside. I didn't realize that.
It was way inside.
Yes, sir. Runners at first and second. 3-2 the count on Dylan Carlson. One of the top prospects for the Cardinals. So, you know, that's the thing about these spring training games. We talk about a steady rise for a young kid, but this is where they get this great experience. These are important at bats, and now he draws a walk, and that's 3 in a row the Cardinals have received. And the bases are loaded in this 4-1 game. Andrew Kisner will be the batter for the Cardinals. And here comes Derek Lilliquist. And we can already see, talking about guys that are swinging the bat well, Kisner, you could see it. He's going to be a major league hitter.
Yeah, he's got really good plate coverage. He has a nice approach, and the ball jumps off his bat. He hit a double over the left fielder's head here yesterday in the first game of spring training, and actually had a couple of hits in the game, but he's been a guy that's hit 300 in the minor leagues and even at the high level. So yeah, he can hit. And the question is, where will he play? He's also playing some first base here. He's playing today for Goldschmidt, so that will increase his opportunities to play.
They will make a pitching change here. Andrew Kisner coming up with the bases loaded when we come back. Austin Williams, a right-hander, comes into the ballgame with the bases loaded, and Andrew Kisner with the hitter for St. Louis. So Kisner played third base his freshman year at North Carolina State. Just to refresh everybody's memory, and there are the numbers on Williams, the right-hander. Then he moved to catcher as a sophomore, did Kisner. That's when his offense kind of scuffled with the position change, and that actually caused him to slip to the 7th round in 2016. He was at North Carolina State, and the Cardinals scooped him up, and he's made progress defensively behind the plate, and we've heard a lot about him. Cardinals felt comfortable enough moving Carson Kelly to, and remember, Carson Kelly, #1 catching prospect in the minor leagues, felt comfortable enough moving him in the Goldschmidt deal, and so Kisner will start this year at Memphis. He's going to get a lot of playing time in the games that you'll see on Fox Sports Midwest, and now comes up in a big opportunity here.
And we wish Carson Kelly the best in Arizona, along with Luke Weaver that went over in that trade, but Kisner had really supplanted him, I think, as the top Cardinal prospect.
I would agree.
And an opportunity here.
So the base is loaded, and the first pitch is strike to Andrew Kisner.
Notice that the pitcher, Williams, was given a couple extra warm-up tosses. I do not believe when Derek Lilliquist went out to talk to Glover that he was prepared to take him out, but something he said that maybe just didn't feel right, and whatever he said wasn't maybe the right answer, and he just decided to go to the bullpen.
Ooh, great play to save a run. And Severino behind the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike.
We've had several pitches in this game that have missed their intended spot by at least 3 feet, and we can add this one to that list. Look at that play. How do you keep your glove down in front of that ball?
Terrific play.
I believe he could play for the Blues.
But Jordan Binnington yesterday. Congratulations to the Blues. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ooh, good rip by Kisner. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Blues have been so much fun, Danny. I've seen a number of games, saw them play, went to see them play in Denver a week or so ago, and it's just been such a great ride for them. Outstanding.
Cardinals trail here 4-1, and the 1-2 pitch. Lined into the glove and out of the glove. Forced play at second, but a run will score. And that makes it a 4-2 ball game, and a hard hit ball by Andrew Kisner.
Well, it's a good at-bat. This is hard contact. That's what you want. A foot higher, and you get 2 RBIs, but you end up with just 1.
Jacob Wilson, the second baseman, almost came up with it. There's Tyler O'Neill, who is homered here today. Runners at the corners. And he pops it up on the first pitch into shallow right field. Catch is made, threat through. Cardinals pick up a run. Cut the lead in half. A little surfing down here in Florida.
First hit.
St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Hyundai. The Hyundai SUV lineup has always been better. Now it's bigger. Visit your local Hyundai dealer or buy Hyundai.com today. And by the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket played gives back to Missouri schools. So play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. I was on the backfield and was able to shoot that shot that you saw there with Lane Thomas taking some BP, and it's great when we're able to go back there and see those guys work and see the live BP and how they react to certain pitches. That's where you get the info. I love going back there and doing that.
Well, I'm excited to watch this guy pitch, but I'm not excited that I was actually going to say, were you taking pictures of that particular BP on the backfields? It's showing me that you and I think way too much alike.
Absolutely. Genesis Cabrera delivers that pitch, and there's a home run. Well, Genesis is greeted by Matt Reynolds with a home run. Reynolds goes deep, or was that Wilson? It was Wilson. That's Jacob, not Jacob. Let's see. They just made that change. That's, yeah, Jacob Wilson with that home run. Jacob Wilson, a former Cardinal. Hello. Home run.
Boy, he squared that one up, didn't he?
Sure did.
He was one of those names several years ago that was on our radar as maybe the next young player to make it big in St. Louis.
I know you've been excited, though, to watch this lefty, and you think that he could be an impact.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of certainly talk from the minor league guys about just how electric his arm is. He came over from Tampa Bay's organization in the Tommy Pham trade, and along Justin Wilson, the other Williams, excuse me, the other big name in that. But Cabrera had a terrific winter ball. Not a good start to spring training, but in winter ball he pitched for Licey. And you say winter ball doesn't matter, but honestly I think it does. I think if you go there and shine against the top next level future big leaguers, it's just like playing well in the Arizona Fall League. It just means a lot. And he had great success there. And the Cardinals are hoping that flows into spring training and into the season.
He had 21 strikeouts in 14 1/3 innings in winter ball.
Pretty healthy.
It's been compared to Felipe Vasquez of the Pittsburgh Pirates. His power, body, the build, the way he throws. Now, the Cardinals have talked about keeping him as a starter at AAA Memphis, but then obviously would not hesitate to bring him up as a reliever. And I would think that would be the long-term plan, that you'd see this power arm as a reliever. But a rough start here, home run and now a walk. Genesis Cabrera.
Well, you can tell he likes his changeup, that he was willing to throw it 3-1 there, which I would say that's a good sign, despite the fact that he missed there. I thought it was a really interesting part of our visit with John Mozeliak. They came back in that 3rd inning, which did not fare very well for the home team. A 3-run inning for the Nats. But one of the things that Mo told us is he said that there's not a conclusive answer to the question of what's better for somebody's health and development, being in the bullpen or as a starter. He says you talk to analytic people and baseball people and you get really 2 different answers about what's harder on your arm. I thought that was an interesting reality. He says it's just not real clear.
Everybody knows about the fastball here with Cabrera, but when he was in the minor leagues, he started last year at AA Montgomery, and he had some ups and downs. 7-6 ERA over 4 over 21 games. 20 of those were starts. 121 strikeouts in 113 innings. That was 2nd in the Southern League at the time of the trade. He talked about just being able to put the bad outings behind him, but his manager at the time mentioned what you said moments ago. He was willing to throw his off-speed pitches when he was behind in the count. And you think about minor league pitchers, are they willing to do that? And they had a pickoff there, and that goes into left field. And that's sometimes, Ricky, as you well know, what will separate major league pitchers from minor league pitchers. Will they do that behind the count?
And here's the hard throw for a right-handed first baseman who has to try to throw it over the runner. A lot easier for somebody who's left-handed to make that throw, but that one just airmailed by Kisner.
Did not play any first base, by the way, last season.
But Dan, back to that point, 100%. Managers are looking for a player's ability to throw off-speed pitches at any count.
Lined into left field and a base hit. Relay, no throw. Throw back to first. That pitch was at 97 from Cabrera.
I think there was a little bit of confusion on that relay from left field. The throw came in. The runner wasn't going to go. Here's the base hit to left field. And as he comes up to throw it in, he's just hitting the shortstop. He's not hitting the cutoff man. And that runner that scored got the late jump and made it. Perhaps a mistake in left. Slowed down just a bit, and they sent him. Might have had a chance at him.
You could see that the runner was hesitant to go.
Well, he got the slow break because it was a line drive just to the left of the shortstop, too. So he didn't really get a good break.
Pedro Severino, he's been behind the plate all day today for the Nationals and looks at a strike. Cardinals did promote Cabrera to AAA for the playoffs, used him there in relief. saw a little spike in velocity. And as you mentioned, carried over to the Dominican Winter League, and he had a 1.26 ERA. Cardinals added him to the 40-man in November. That protected him from the Rule 5 draft. So he's got that cutter or slider, curveball, changeup, very good fastball.
Well, Dan, I know you really care about this, but just to be clear with you, the Cardinals are now down to 4 more mound visits. Our home plate umpire alerted us after that visit. Try to get on the same page, really. I think you wanted to make sure he and the catcher were thinking alike in terms of how to attack the hitter. And that's a learning thing in spring training, too. You don't know each other as well necessarily, how you want to go for an out pitch. And, you know, it's all a learning game. And Cabrera wanting to make sure he had his say. You like the mound visit counting, by the way?
I didn't think it really made that big of a difference.
I think they could make it lower.
I would agree with that. Matter of fact, I think they should.
Let's see what kind of pull you have.
0. I don't know if you agree with this. I think if you're going to do something with, and there's the mound visits, the rule, which was 6 per team per 9.
I think 4 is enough.
I thought if you really wanted to speed up some of the things, is that you had umpires looking into a dugout for a manager to see if they wanted to ask for a replay. And that, to me, is what takes time. So instead of doing that and looking in, time was called, manager then looks back at his phone, and the coach that's on to his replay team, you know, in the video room or the war room, whatever you want. But let's just move it along. You know, if you're going to challenge, you challenge. If not, let's go. And that's what takes time. That takes too much time to me.
So almost don't even give a team a chance. You don't get a chance to review it. If you really believe that you're right,
you either do or you don't.
You either do or you don't.
That's right.
I'd be with that.
And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. Tough. It's tough decisions.
Hey,
but there's
it's the big leagues, man.
If Tim is watching right now, I can see Tim right now. Yes, I like that. It's the big leagues, man.
I hope he is watching.
Well, Dan, now that makes a little sense. Now, I'm not sure I totally agree, but yeah, I could see that. Now, hold on here. Now, wait.
So the first time you and Tim get together.
Yes.
Sounds like he's here now. I want to hear his. I never had really a chance to ask Tim about this, and I'd be interested what he thinks about the talk about perhaps the DH becoming a national league.
Well, I don't like it.
Okay, thank you, Tim. I know.
Slowly hit to short, out at second. The turn by Munoz, and Kisner keeps it in front, and that saves a run.
Well, good.
Well, I don't want to speak for Tim, but I'll just maybe speak for Tim.
I bet he wouldn't like it. We'll see.
That's my guess.
Well, it's interesting you're talking about pace of play. American League games are longer. They're longer than National League games.
What is it, by about a minute or two?
Couple of minutes.
Yeah.
2.5 minutes longer. And the reason they're 2.5 minutes longer is you don't have a pitcher making it out on 3 pitches, or the quick out on a sacrifice, or whatever that might be from a pitcher's point of view. And yeah, you might think there's more double switches and changes, but the American League game's still a longer game when you've got 9 hitters to face, and so you get a little more of that.
Our friend Ben Frederickson of the Post-Dispatch wrote a really interesting article about the DH, and it seemed like that most fans did not want it to come into play. Now, it seemed like the younger generation of the baseball fan encouraged it, didn't mind it, and it seemed like the older generation of baseball fan definitely did not want it. The younger generation was okay with it. I wouldn't want it. I'm okay if baseball says, hey, we've done the studies and this is what they want, I'm all whatever fans want, that's what we're going to go with. And that drops in. My personal opinion is no. Here's a throw from right and not in time. And now the Nationals add to their lead. Base hit by Reynolds as he drives in a run.
Well, I 100% agree that the fans' opinion on it, Dan, makes a big difference. I think the way I would limit that is I'd be interested in what the core baseball fan the one that really loves the game and is going to be not the casual lover of the game, or the one that doesn't like it and says I'll watch it more if you do that. I think that's the wrong person to ask. I think baseball is what it is. Core fan, you don't want to alienate the core fan.
No question about that. I can tell you this. And there is a base hit into center. Nice play to throw behind the runner. Heads up play. I believe that's Adolis Garcia with that throw. And that throw then, that's Munoz with the tag. Throw goes off the runner who was tagged out.
Talk about adding injury to insult. Here's the
base ball on that play.
Base hit up the middle, and here's the behind the runner throw, very alert. And so you get him in the rundown. He's out. Now you got to play at second. Ouch.
Ouch. That becomes a dead ball once it hits that runner between second and third. Now hold on here. Why is a runner still? Okay, so the runner advances from first to second on the play.
Right.
So you give him the bag. But going back to this, I can tell you this, having emceed a lot of season ticket holder events, and it's always brought up, will the DH come into the National League? Those fans, for the most part, Ricky, I'd say it's overwhelmingly saying they don't want it.
Yeah, that's my sense too. Well, we shall see.
Now explain to me, does that become a dead ball off that runner?
No, it's not. It's live. He's out, but that was.
Are you sure?
Well, he's on second base, so that would be my answer. They're either wrong about it, because he was already out. He was already out.
Right.
And if the ball hit him on the throw, I think it's just
advance on your own
advance at your own risk, which is what he did. That's how he got the second. I mean, you just don't see this very often, where a player is out and then he almost gets knocked out. Ball thrown off the side of his helmet, and he's like, why'd you do that? Apparently that ball was in play because the runner went to second.
Yeah.
You see stuff in baseball, Dan, that
I've not seen that one.
I don't think so. I can't recall.
We'll get a pitching change. Not a great debut for Cabrera. I'm sure that'll improve as we move forward in spring. Genesis Cabrera out of the ball game, and a right-hander's in now for St. Louis. Andrew Morales for the Redbirds. Well, not the debut we were expecting for Genesis Cabrera.
No, disappointing. You could tell he certainly has live arm, Dan, good stuff. Left-hander throwing mid to upper 90s, but it just was not really sharp here this afternoon, and hitting some bats, and also didn't have as good a command as I'm sure he hoped.
So Morales into the ball game for St. Louis. Cardinals trailing by the score of 8-2. Andrew Morales selected in the second round of 2014 from UC Irvine.
Well, Danny, we've got a little homework to do, don't we? You and I.
Yes, sir.
On that last play, still unclear whether or not it's a dead ball once a player's out. If he's hit with a thrown ball, is that a dead ball or is it in play?
So if he would have been in a rundown and not tagged out, obviously the ball is in play. But once he's out, you know, what happens in that situation?
And the runner, as we saw in several replays during the break, he was already at second anyway.
Sure.
So doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't a dead ball. I'm still guessing no, but
we'll talk it over with Mike Schild.
We'll find out. He'll know. Or he'll know somebody who does.
Morales was with Memphis and Springfield last year. And that's out to right field near the corner and out of play. In sync, let's take a look. So runner scores. Now the rundown. See, the runner in the top right is at second base, so clearly there he'll stay put. And there you go. Morales has been a minor league pitcher of the month. That was when he was with Springfield 2016 and part of the PCL championship with Memphis last year, and gets a strikeout. Then to the bottom of the sixth. Cardinals down 8-2. For every fan who can't get enough of the Cardinals, there's Cardinals Magazine, your all-access pass to the players and moments that define Cardinals baseball. Number to call 345-9000, cardinals.com/publications, and you'll receive 2 free tickets to see the Cardinals at Busch Stadium this season. Cardinals Magazine, it's all here for you. Stan McNeil is down here, one of the great writers of Cardinals Magazine, and Taka's here taking all the photos that you'll get in the magazine, a behind-the-scenes look at Cardinals baseball.
Great writing, great photos, and all kinds of good information in the Cardinals Magazine. I love it. I look forward to it and pass it around to other people. I mean, it really is very, very well done.
Ronald Pena is the new pitcher for Washington. His numbers last year in the minor leagues. Drew Robinson, a couple of hits here today, and all he's done is hit in the first 2 games.
I believe that Robinson would have preferred yesterday to be opening day of the regular season.
Isn't that funny how that works? Sometimes you hit so well in spring, you make the club and you're saying, save these hits.
Exactly. Yeah, and it can work the other way. You have a bad spring and you go on a tear on day 1.
Patrick Wisdom finally got the call up last year for St. Louis. Had some nice moments too. Longtime minor leaguer, third baseman for the Cardinals. St. Louis traded him to Texas for Drew Robinson. It's one of the battles the Cardinals will have. The bench, Martinez, backup catcher Jed Jerko. You would think, you would assume those guys on the bench will get a lot of playing time. And then from the left side of the bench, Drew Robinson picked up. That's it out of play.
Well, one thing the Cardinals did not have last year, Dan, in my view, and I like the way John Mozeliak said it, is, you know, you kind of plan for that season. It works out as it does, and you don't want to rehash it, and you want to learn from it, though. And I think one of the things that maybe was a learn from last year was not really enough left-handed hitting. Very right-handed hitting lineup, especially when Dexter Fowler was out, which was a lot of the last half of the season, and he, of course, could be as a switch hitter, but basically it was Wong and Carpenter. That's it. And Garcia off the bench, and that's not enough kind of firepower from the left side and not enough ability to kind of spread those lefties out.
Reason why they got Matt Adams.
Right.
A strikeout of Drew Robinson. Payne is a 27-year-old. He's on a long road through the minor leagues. Drafted in the 16th round, 2012 by Washington. Initially taken as a starter out of Palm Beach State Community College. Now exclusively pitching out of the pen in recent seasons in the minor leagues. High A Potomac. 1.98 ERA last year. And a base hit to left for Jairo Munoz. Pena last year made it up to Harrisburg. The Senators in Double-A had a high ERA. He's got an upper 90s fastball, and when you have that, you'll get a look. But he's got that.
You bet.
Non-roster invitee. Just seems like, though, Ricky, we say it all the time. I mean, if you're not throwing mid to high 90s, you're not getting that look.
No. Well, hitters have just learned to catch up to the high octane fastball, and the thought is if somebody's throwing high 80s, even low 90s now, that maybe it's just not enough. Not enough to keep a hitter off balance. And if you can't get a hitter off balance, now you can do it, but you're just going to have really good movement and really good sharp off-speed pitches.
Adolis Garcia, deep right, carries to the wall, and it's caught.
Wow. How about that power?
To Adolis today, and you talked about it yesterday. I had that chance to visit with him at length. He is big.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
He has gotten bigger from last year. He is put together.
Yes.
Jeremy Martinez will be the batter. Nobody warming in the Cardinals pen, so it'll be another inning for Andrew Morales. Jeremy Martinez. So 2 outs, 8-2 our score here in the bottom of the 6th. The sun peeking through the clouds. Jeremy from Fountain Valley, California, 4th round pick, 2016. Last year primarily at Springfield, did have 6 games at Memphis. Originally selected by the Cubs, 37th round, and he pops it up foul territory down the right field line and out of play. He's been invited to Major League spring training in each of the last 3 seasons since he was drafted. He's a catcher. You'll see plenty of catchers in spring training and Major League camp, especially with Yadi not behind the plate.
Well, you see them anyway because you've got several extra pitchers, a lot of non-roster pitchers as well, and somebody's got to catch them. Everybody's throwing a bullpen, you know, maybe every other day or every third day, so you need to have somebody who's willing and able to catch it. So anybody who's a warm body in the Cardinals minor league is here.
He was an outstanding college player. He played at USC. And he lines it to short for the out. And we're through 6 here on Fox Sports Midwest. Move to the 7th. Cardinals down 8-2. With the lead, top of the 7th inning, rolls in. They're at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. Morales got the final out with a strikeout in the 6th. And we'll start the 7th inning. Jacob Wilson has homered today. There's at one point that we really thought Jacob Wilson was going to get time in the big leagues. Played a lot of third base, second, short for the Cardinals, and we would see him get a lot of time in minor league games. Just did not work out in St. Louis for whatever reason.
He had that great spring training. I think he had 400 in spring training, and he got off to a terrible start into AAA level. Just what we were talking about earlier. Having a good spring, but not a good start, and it just kind of didn't work for him.
And he lines this fair down into the left field corner. On his way to second base, in there safely. Home run and a double now for Jacob Wilson. It's Max Schrock who has taken over at second base for the Cardinals. Randy Arozarena with that throw from left field.
Well, it's all about opportunities, as we've said. You get your chance to play, you produce, you play some more. Does a pretty good job by Arozarena getting the ball into that down that left field corner quickly, and a strong throw in. That was a strong throw. More than a left field arm.
Base hit to left. Wilson to third. Jake Knoll with the base hit to left, and it's runners at first and third, and nobody out. Check that. That's Knoll now coming up. And there was Hunter Jones with that base hit to left, and here's Jake Knoll, who is 1 for 1 at an RBI single back in the 6th, then a run scored. Infielders in a step or two, and that is a fair ball off the sidewall. Run will score. Knoll to second base, and 3 consecutive hits to start the inning for Washington. 9-2 Nationals.
This game has become very similar to the game that we saw yesterday. Hits off the bench. This time it's the Nationals. Yesterday it was the Cardinals, whose offense really came from the players who came in the 4th inning and beyond. But the Nationals are piling it on here, and now we're going to have a conversation with Morales. Let's hope he's not having an issue on the mound.
Cardinals medical team out there along with Mike Maddox. Yeah, I would think this early in spring and
when
the
in doubt,
season, get him out.
Right.
Nobody was throwing in the Cardinals' pen, so someone will get up, start to get loose. It's 9-2.
Have you ever worked for
To look at the 22-year-old Seth Elledge, so that's not a starter but a reliever who was with Springfield last year, getting loose. So you would think it wouldn't take him as long as a starter to get ready for this action. He was not up and throwing, so he comes in, acquired from the Mariners in the Sam Tui-Valala deal late July last season. That's Seth Elledge getting loose. We mentioned Alex Reyes will face live hitters tomorrow in the backfields, and we talked to Alex last week about his preparation and just what camp means to him, being healthy going into this season.
There isn't any doubt in me or in my soul that believes that I won't be me. I'm extremely excited just to get back out there and be able to show the fans that I truly believe in myself, and I feel confident that I'll be back to what I once was.
Well, fans love to hear that, and he's still #1 on the 2019 Cardinals top 10 prospect list.
Yeah, and what he said, and we've talked about it earlier, is I don't want to be called a prospect anymore. I want to get off that list. I want to be on an active guy, a guy that's making a difference and being a part of it. Visited with him a little bit this morning in the Cardinal clubhouse, and he's just all smiles, confident, ready to go, and I think it's exciting that all three of those guys are throwing tomorrow. That's going to be kind of a lot of eyes on that particular batting practice with Andrew Miller and Jordan Hicks and Alex Reyes all throwing live BP. Wouldn't want to have a bat in my hand is all I can say.
No.
And so he is such a, I don't want to say wild card, but I mean, he is such a potentially huge trump card for this Cardinals team this year. If he becomes the player that he's saying there that he thinks he will be, the player he was 2 years ago before he got hurt the first time. And he was, I mean, he was as dominant a pitcher as the Cardinals had a year and a half ago as a young kid rookie in the big leagues. And again, he's still a rookie because he didn't pitch that much. But the point is, he was a guy that was taking the lion's share of the tough innings when the Cardinals were getting towards the later part of the season. So you just hope that that plays out well for him, and whether he starts or relieve, I frankly don't really care. I mean, I almost think the starter reliever delineation now, Dan, is so muddy anyway, because starters aren't going 7 or 8 innings anyway. So what difference does it make?
Well, he could be one of the, if you want to call it, a new face for the Cardinals in their 25-man roster. There's also some new faces to the coaching staff as well. Here in spring training, we can introduce you to some of those names. We know Mike Schilt is the manager. Ali Marmol is back, bench coach. Mike Maddox back. Stubby Clapp at first base. Ron Pop Warner at third base. Jeff Albert. Now, he's a guy that's been here before in the system, but he is the hitting coach. Mark Budaska, the assistant hitting coach. Buda back. Willie McGee, always one of our favorites, the Cardinals Hall of Famer. And Brian Eversgerd is in the bullpen, and that's the coaching staff for the St. Louis Cardinals of 2019. Never get sick of seeing number 51, Willie McGee.
I had a great visit with Willie today and Jose Oquendo both, and both of them were so very upbeat about the way this spring training is going. Very, very happy.
Seth Elledge, 6'3", 230. Taylor Gushu, a switch hitter at the plate, and rips it down the right field line. Fair down into the corner. 2 more runs will score. This makes it an 11-2 Washington lead.
Well, the Nats bench just keeps on swinging. Cardinals bullpen has not been effective today. Michael Wacha only gave up 1 hit in 2 innings of work. I would say he was good, not great, good. I would say you could say the same thing about John Gant, who was good, giving up just 1 hit in 2 innings, did not give up a run, but the other Cardinal relievers have not been sharp, including Ponce de Leon, Genesis Cabrera, Morales, and now Elledge, who's really just faced 1 batter. You know, Elledge coming over to the Cardinals, Dan, is a little bit of what John Mozeliak was telling us about in that 3rd inning. When a player's out of options, you've got to figure out what to do with them. That's where Sam Tuivailala was. And so he became interesting to a team that didn't care about that at the time, which was the Seattle Mariners. The Cardinals couldn't option him. They needed space. So they get a younger player who's got more options in return. And so maybe the Mariners got a more mature big league player who was ready. That's how that rule really plays into deals. And that's a pretty good example of it.
Tuivailala then tore his Achilles, and now coming back for Seattle. And boy, I'll tell you what, the Mariners were as busy as anybody this offseason with trades and movement, what they did. Maybe the biggest move, Robinson Cano going back to New York, not to the Yankees, but moving that big contract and going to the Mets. So Robinson Cano now with the New York Mets. They had to eat some of that deal, but he'll be the second baseman for the Mets this year. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Luis Garcia, and that's up and away. Seth Elledge played high school baseball in Texas. college baseball at Dallas Baptist University. Three-two, slap the other way. Rosarena backing up to make the catch. He is from Edmond, Oklahoma.
Think about our fans here today. Dan, we mentioned it, could not be a nicer day at the ballpark here. Very warm temperatures, and so many of the Cardinal faithful here have been hanging on. Not a great game from the Cardinals' point of view in terms of action, but the experience of being here. It's being in spring training. The newness of it all. The first chance to see Paul Goldschmidt in a Cardinal uniform today, and to see Matt Carpenter play third again. And, you know, you're here for the up-close looks at your favorite team, and you get them in spring training. It's a smaller venue, and there's just something unique about being in a spring training atmosphere.
Back at the ballpark.
You bet.
Carter Keyboom. You know, we showed the Cardinals coaching staff for this upcoming season does not include Jose Oquendo, and I know a lot of fans probably curious about that. Jose lives in the area, and he'll be working with many of the minor leaguers, and really has been doing a lot of work with the major leaguers that come down so early before spring training even starts. So has been working with Colton Wong and Paul DeYoung, Matt Carpenter, and Delvin Perez, who is top pick from a few years ago. So his hands are all over the Cardinals roster up and down, and so that's something to keep in mind. You know, he's working with the middle infielders, hitters, and he's here every day very early along with Willie McGee. I'm told Willie gets here about 5:15, 5:30 every day working with the players.
Coaching life, that's what it is. You got to understand that, and they know they're sold out to invest in young players, to invest in the organization, and Oquendo's part of that. Even though he's not here, he'll be part of that. If he can get Delvin Perez to that next level, that'd be something.
And that pitch, I guess, a little bit low.
Another former Cardinal player who lives here and is actually originally from this area is Tony Cruz, and he also was here in January when we were here for the fantasy camp. Cruz, Oquendo working with several players that were here early. I'm talking about early, mid-January early, and that includes Colton Wong, Paul DeYoung, and several others. And Tony is going to be a terrific instructor, I think. I'm thrilled that he signed on to work with the catchers in the minor leagues.
And a strike to Brandon Snyder. Runners at first and second. Now let's just say that the pitch clock comes into play.
Go ahead.
All right. And I know you want to call it a hitter's clock.
Yes, I do. And you can call it what you want.
Let's just say then the players are not adhering to the rules. And a certain player's making a certain amount of money and not adhering to the rules, and all of a sudden that letter from the commissioner shows up on a chair or a stool, and you know what?
They file it, and
then he keeps getting those letters or maybe a fine, and that fine is for a couple of $100. So my question would be, do you want to get fined, or does Major League Baseball say the umpire has to come in and say, okay, you're not adhering to the rules, strike two or ball two?
I think that's the plan. I think that's the plan initially. As we can see here in the first few spring training games, there's not going to be the enforcement that we're talking about.
Because remember, it was fines for a while.
Right.
You got to make it to the players and what's happening on the field.
But our bottom paragraph says that umpires, hopefully with the union's consent, can start issuing balls and strikes. That will get your attention.
That's right.
Not a letter.
And that's why I wanted to bring that up.
Not a letter from the commissioner. That's right. Well, I know how those get filed.
Because fines don't matter.
Not unless they're
with a bunch of zeros behind them.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter.
There's going to be, in my understanding of this, there's going to be some misunderstandings that happen. You know, I think about the classic video that we've seen because we know and love Al Raboski. The classic video that we've seen of him getting ready, then Madlock getting into the box, then Al stepping out. Then Al gets ready, and Madlock steps out. And they do this little song and dance for a while until they kind of have a big fight over it. Well, it's kind of the umpire's going to have to determine who's the one that's really not ready here. The pitcher may be standing on the mound, but may not be fully ready. The hitter might be in the box, but is he asking for time? I'm going to wait for the pitcher to be ready completely. There's some subjectivity to it, yes. And they're going to have to arbitrate that.
So 2 outs. Well, I think with any of these rules, there's got to be common sense.
Yes,
and you would hope the umpires would do that. But so there's the pitch clock, which is seen clearly here at the ballpark in right center field. Now the batter is in. We're down to about 5 seconds, and away we go. Now the pitch clock would start. See right there, the batter was not supposed to be able to step out of the box. One foot should have stayed in the box. Pitch clock is down to 9 right now. Okay. Ground ball that's hit up the middle, and the out. No fines. The land of Oz, where Cardinal infielders become wizards.
Rivera.
2019 theme tickets are on sale now, and they include favorites like Star Wars Night, Margaritaville Night, Grateful Dead Night, and many more. For details and a full list of dates, visit cardinals.com/theme. (11-2) our score as we move to the bottom of the 7th. Kyle McGowan, 4 games last year for the Nationals. Edmundo Sosa, first pitch swinging, and it's fouled back. Seen pretty good crowds early on, but spring break hasn't hit yet back home, and that's usually when it's packed here in Jupiter.
You know, I wonder if fans are still adjusting to that reality. You always kind of had the thought of, well, I'm going to go to spring training baseball starting in March. Well,
yeah. Schedule a little bit earlier if you can.
Definitely, if possible.
Hit to third, and there's one away.
You always felt like moments like this, the last few innings of a game that is essentially out of hand in terms of outcome at the moment. But, you know, it's still meaningful for a guy like Sosa, his at-bat, or every at-bat in this game is, you know, how many are you going to get in spring training? What's the at-bat going to be like? And managers still watching. I mean, there's no question that Jeff Albert, the hitting coach, and Buddha, his assistant, I mean, they want to see a good quality at-bat regardless of the situation, because they're looking at you. They're not looking at the score right now.
Talked to Mike Schilt, I'd say about 6, 7 o'clock last night. We were talking, Ricky, and we were talking about our visit, which, albeit, was fairly brief.
It was pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, and he said, you know, I'm still getting used to this. Yeah. And he said, give me a reminder when I got to get that headset on and when I'm supposed to visit with the guys. And I said, okay. I said, I just didn't want to bother you in the middle of the game. He said, Dan, I'm so locked in. I got to do those things. Tell me when you want me. I'm ready to do it. I forgot. I'm so locked into the game. And I said, well, Mike, it was the first spring training game. I said, I know you're locked in. We'll give you reminders. I got it. And he said, and the guys, the regulars, they're wanting to get out of there, but I didn't want to put the headset on for the optics of hey, well, here I'm telling you guys to stick around, and here I am going to do TV.
Right.
He said, you know what? We're winning games here. And I'm locked in. And I'm telling guys what I expect. And I want them to know I'm locked in. And he said, we're here to win. And we're going to win.
I love it. I mean, I love that
he is
attitude.
Fired up.
I love that. And he was also not hurt at all that we went to the wrong mic at first with the with the headphones.
He did have a little laugh about that.
For those who did not see that yesterday, we put the headsets on Mike, and we were looking for Mike, and we gave it to Mike, but it was Mike Maddox.
Right.
And Mike Maddox told me today, he said, well, nobody told me, but I'll do it. Like, well, we didn't tell you because we were looking for the manager. Pretty funny situation.
Last 3 seasons, the Cardinals have been close, but they've come up just short, mathematically alive that final week, but they've just run out of gas. We talked about it yesterday. They had the great August to get back in it, and then had big series, and then just came up short. And last year, going into the final week, they had that series against Milwaukee, and if you looked at what it was, I think a 4-game series, they take 3 or 4 sweep. They might have been in first place, but ran out of gas, and that was it. There's a wild pitch. Dylan Carlson now at the plate for St. Louis after the walk to Edman. 11-2 our score here in the bottom of the 7th.
88 win season for the Cardinals. There's a lot of positives there. I mean, I know Cardinal fans wanted more, and we're used to more. We're used to October baseball, and that's, you can't fully say it's a successful season if you don't get there. But you can't say that the Cardinals didn't give it a nice, strong finish, especially the month of August.
Found it interesting. I was at a dinner I emceed, Rick, I'd say probably a month and a half ago with Mike Schilt, and it was a Q&A. And that's off the end of the bat. And I asked Mike, I said, there were times in the minor leagues where they actually told you to kind of pull back the reins a little bit. And if you look at his resume, he won a lot in the minor leagues, championships, where, let's say, for example, if you were managing Dylan Carlson, maybe they would want you to have a situation where, let's say, Dylan Carlson would face a lefty. Let's see how he does lefty-lefty matchup. Don't pinch hit him late in a game for a lefty-righty, or whatever the situation may be. Keep this guy in a tough spot so that we can see him face lefties.
Right.
Part of his maturation process, whatever.
Understood.
And Mike kind of stopped me there, and he said, well, yeah, they would call me to do that, and they would say, make sure you do those things. He said, but Dan, I got to be honest. He said, I thought part of the maturation process for young men was to win.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I took those phone calls, and I listened to what they were saying. And you're right, and they're right, too. He said, and I did those things, but, part of the maturation process, too, and I learned this from Mark Dejean and George Kissel.
George Kissel, you bet.
He said, but part of it was winning, too. And as you mature and and I'm paraphrasing here, and I wish Mike would explain it better than I'm probably trying to explain here, but, he said when you win, you mature too. And I'm probably not explaining this as well as I mean to be, and I don't mean to take words from Mike and how he explained it, but he said winning was really important. And when you win in the minor leagues, it's very, very important too.
It is a classic discussion among minor league development people, and I was in those discussions before when I hope
I'm explaining this well.
No, you are. Yeah. So here's the discussion. Are we developing winners, or are we developing our best players? And the answer is yes. You want to do both. So you want to develop, you want to develop guys who are going to be frontline players and can help the big league team. And you also want to win because you want to get the culture of winning at the minor league level.
We talked about that a lot, too.
So you've got the culture of winning, but you've got the player that you're trying to get, whether it's Albert Pujols or Jordan Hicks. You're trying to get that guy producing at the big league level, and you do what you can to spend time with him to get him there. But the idea is which comes first, and that's a very hard thing for a minor league manager, because you want to do both. You want to win, but you also want to get that top-notch player ready for the next level. And you talk to Gary LaRocque about that, he would say the same thing. It's a
balancing act.
Yes, you want both, but it's hard. Some days you're stuck between one or the other.
And he mentioned how, and I talked about just, and we addressed this a little bit yesterday, how aggressive August was. And I said, I think the fans really gravitated towards your style of play in August. And he said, well, you got to have the right players to do it, and they got to be on base. But there's no question, if I can be aggressive, we will take chances and we will be aggressive. That is my style of managing. I'd rather be on the side of being aggressive, and if we get caught on bases, if that's the way that it happens, I'd rather err on that side than not. Let's play pedal to the metal if we can, and have that style and that entertainment. He said, you know, we are in the business of trying to entertain for fans, and he said, I think fans enjoy that style, and if we can play that way, he said, I'm not always going to do it, but if we can, he said, I think fans enjoy that, and we are going to try to do that.
So think of it this way. What's the best way to entertain Cardinal fans? Win.
Yeah. Winning kind of cures all, isn't it?
There's still that factor.
That's you know, I've had a lot of fans say, man, I enjoy the bobbleheads and the shirt giveaways and the hats and all these other things. I said, well, the best giveaway and the best entertainment and all that kind of thing is winning.
High fives at the end.
Yeah, fans really enjoy that a lot, too.
No question about it.
They seem to come to the ballpark when that happens.
Well, we mentioned the Blues earlier. I mean, so many resurrected Blues fans around the St. Louis community, and most Blues fans are Blues fans no matter what. Anyway, I get that.
Oh, I've been on the bandwagon the whole time.
Yeah, I'm sure
I've always been there. Yeah.
I've been on there since January 2nd.
Yeah.
So. But there is something about that winning culture, and you can't wait to read about how they did the next day. I mean, it really is, or see the game yourself. I mean, it's kind of infectious, and Cardinal baseball's that way when the Cardinals are winning in the summer.
That's right. And a strikeout of Randy Arozarena sends us to the 8th in the 11-2 ball game. St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. And by Ford, the official car and truck of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Want to go surfing tomorrow, Danny?
After the game?
Yeah.
Why not?
I'll meet you there.
Why not? I think our next game will be Saturday. We'll have plenty of time this week. Although you might be on the radio side.
I will be.
Good luck to you. Have fun.
Will do.
I'll have you tuned in.
We should report, Dan, that Morales, who came in to pitch in the 6th inning for the Cardinals, he left with shoulder discomfort. He was taken out of the game. A little conversation on the mound, and just to make sure folks who may be wondering about him, he just had shoulder discomfort, and they decided to take him out.
Here's Tyler Webb. We saw him last year, claimed off of waivers by the Cardinals, helped the bullpen. 18 appearances in relief for St. Louis. Matt Reynolds at the plate. Selected by the Reds, June of 2011. Did not sign, then selected by the Yankees, 10th round, 2013. Then selected by Pittsburgh, Rule 5. That was in 2016. Returned to the Yankees, acquired by Milwaukee. For Garrett Cooper in 2017, claimed off of waivers by the Padres, and then claimed off of waivers by St. Louis.
So what you're saying is he has a lot of different color spikes.
He's been around. Left-handed, that happens. Our crowd today of 5,241. 5-2-4-1. Ball game tomorrow. Coverage continues. Cardinals face the Tigers here in Jupiter. We'll come your way at noon on Fox Sports Midwest, and it's brought to you by your Mid-America Chevy dealers.
One of the things you love to see in dugouts and during workouts are players talking baseball. We highlight that a lot. We get shots of that a lot during the season in the Cardinals dugout, and with Wainwright and young pitchers, and you're talking about grips, etc. But for hitters to be talking about, coming underneath it, where do you set in the bat? What are you doing to get your hands to the ball? What about the timing? What's your trigger? I mean, whatever the conversation may be, just to be talking about your craft, to me, there's as much learning that goes on with that, Dan, as there is when they do stuff with coaches on the backfields. That matters, yes. But players have to communicate with each other, too.
Jacob Wilson grounds it to third, and it's a double play.
It's like you and I talking about our craft during the breaks.
What, golf?
Yeah, that's the one I meant. 5-4-3, nicely done. I didn't know you were going to divulge that, but
well, absolutely.
Well, if we want to get better,
that's what you got to do. Here's Hunter Jones. Thought it was interesting what Mo said to us in our interview. He said, I don't want to dwell much on last year, the year before, or the year before that.
Right.
And,
yeah,
in talking with Mike Schild, he had a quote that he said to the media today, and he was asked about Dexter Fowler. And his quote was, he said, we're moving forward with Dexter and learning from the past. And he said, it's not just about Dexter and what he needs to do. He said, we all have learned from it. He said he needs to do that, and we also as an organization and myself need to do that. He said, so, essentially, as we look at his spring, he said, moving forward, learning from the past, he said, we both learned. He said, so what am I looking? He said, what am I watching with Dexter Fowler? He said, and the media is curious about. It's an interesting camp. Last year was a tough year, right? So what are you looking for? And he just talked about some of the general things. He said, but I will say this. It's time for us to move forward, learn from the past, and we both learned. And I just found that interesting. Let's not dwell on it. Let's move forward.
It sounds like leadership that just wants to build a real team and to build connection. And one of the things that as a manager, coach, general manager, director of player operate, whatever it might be, you realize that all your players are different. I mean, they have different languages, for goodness sakes. They're younger guys. Some guys are quiet. Some guys never stop talking. But you got to find a way to build them into a team.
Strikeout for Webb. Midway through 8. Service bar in each suite. Newly enhanced menu and a renovated design. Perfect for entertaining clients and friends. Learn more at cardinals.com/premium suites. Cal McGowan, his second inning of work. And for the Cardinals, it's Julio Rodriguez. He'll turn 22 in early June. Signed by the Cardinals as a non-drafted free agent. Spent last year at Peoria. He's also one of those catchers that has been asked to be part of big league camp. Threw out nearly 50% of base stealers. Cardinals have some very good catch and throw guys, and in talking with those that run the minor leagues, they love the catch and throw guys, but can they ever hit at the next level? And that's always the issue.
You know, I still remember a conversation so many years ago. Dave Ricketts, the great teacher of catching that the Cardinals had, the late Dave Ricketts. In fact, his wife Barbara passed away recently as well, and just loved both Dave and Barbara and missed them both. But Dave told me one spring training on a day like this, he said, hey, I've got a great crop of young catchers. You would not believe how good their hands are. But this one guy, wait till you see this guy named Molina catch. That's what he told me. He said, now, I don't know if he's going to hit or not, but this guy can flat out catch. His hands are unbelievable. His arm is terrific. Wait till you see Molina. And that's a part of the fun of spring training, Dan, hearing a name like that and then getting excited about it and watching Yadi blossom into not only a terrific catcher, the game's best, but also a top-notch hitter as well.
I think Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think more people are gravitating towards Hall of Famer. More I talk to writers, they think he's a Hall of Famer. I think that the mindset has changed with that.
You can't ignore the All-Star games and the Gold Gloves.
Right.
And Dan, I know you've been waiting for me to say this, so I'm just going to say it.
Do it.
It's your favorite thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to say.
Go for it.
Cardinals need a few bloops and a blast.
Is there a trash can around here? It upset my stomach. Max Schrock.
I did that just for you.
Yes, you did. Max Schrock was actually drafted by the Nationals and then traded to the A's before coming to St. Louis in the Steven Piscotty deal. If you missed it yesterday, this was number 2 of the pair of 3-run homers the Cardinals had. Schrock had an oblique injury on the first day of camp. Only appeared in 2 spring training games last year, and he pops this one up on the right side into shallow right center, and the catch is made. So we never got a real good look at him. And it brings in Adolis Garcia.
There's a good look at those arms you were talking about earlier. This guy is massive. I mean, he is so strong.
It was his speed and defense and power that got him really to the big leagues. Can he improve his approach at the plate? That pitch right there, in talking with those that see him every day, he'll chase that pitch. And that's what happens with a lot of young hitters, as we've seen time and again. It's the slider or the curveball that they'll chase outer half. But if he centers one up, watch out.
You know, I have just a great memory from our caravan of Adolis Garcia, Jordan Hicks, Austin Gomber, Tyler O'Neill, just how wonderful they were on a hospital visit that we made to St. Jude's in Memphis. Very famous facility that cares for an awful lot of people, and those guys were so good. I mean, they were just caring, interested, and Garcia was certainly part of that. Many of the kids that could come from other countries and speaking Spanish, he was just so warm with them. It was really kind of nice to see these guys in a different light.
I bet. Garcia had 99 strikeouts last year at AAA. So trying to cut that down, but hit for power. He had 25 doubles, 22 home runs, drove in 71 in 112 games at Memphis. Made his major league debut, 21 games with the Cardinals. Had a couple of hits, went 2 for 17 with St. Louis. Plus runner, big arm, raw power. And the 1-2 pitch to Adolis Garcia. At Springfield in 17, he had 77 strikeouts. Last year, 99. So can he cut down on that, get more discipline? The 2-2 pitch. That's what we're talking about right there. So he strikes out, and there's 2 away.
And that's about pitch recognition there. He did not see that it was a breaking ball out of the hand and started to swing at a pitch that ended up about half a foot outside. And, you know, if his recognition is better, Dan, that's ball 3. Then he gets a pitch he can handle the next pitch, and you see what happens. But when the pitcher has the advantage, they're trying to press that advantage by fooling you into thinking it's one pitch when really it's another.
And Martinez taps it foul. Cardinals have a right-hander throwing in the bullpen. They had Webb, Shreve, Gant, Cabrera, Ponce de Leon, Gallegos, Elledge, Jones, and Morales all listed today. And that's Giovanni Gallegos throwing in the bullpen. And a ground ball deep in the hole. Tough play. Nicely done. Pretty sweet. Head to the ninth. It's 11-2. Our score. Nationals lead the Cardinals. That was a popular hat giveaway last couple of years.
Sure was.
You know what we have this year? The straw hat giveaway.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm on it. And we always have such great giveaways.
Giovanni Gallegos is the new pitcher. He's from Mexico. He'll turn 28 in August. He was acquired from the Yankees along with Chasen Shreve. He was in the Luke Voit deal. So Giovanni Gallegos, he signed with the Yankees out of Mexico all the way back in 2011. He's a hard thrower. And he reached the major leagues 6 years later. And he worked out of the Yankees bullpen 2017 and 18. Fastball will reach at 97-98. That's what it hit last year at Memphis. He's got a curveball as well.
And 192 minor league games in those 6 years with an ERA of 2.79. That shows you how hard it is to advance in some systems because there's so many players at the big league level. Of course, the Yankees continue to restock their bullpen with guys that make a lot of money. And you look at those names that they have now, Britton and Chapman. I mean, Betances. I mean, they're in lockdown mode in that bullpen. And so a guy like Gallegos has no chance.
This is a big spring for him because of his age.
Absolutely.
As I mentioned, he'll turn 28 later this summer. John Mozeliak talking about his arm. He's got a big arm. That just missed. It's kind of got a funky delivery too. The Cardinals like that. He'll add some depth right now for the Cardinals. Could be on that shuttle, the I-55 shuttle this year. And there's a fly ball lifted out to deep left field. That is hammered. Jake Knoll may have hit that off the Nationals bus. And Knoll makes it a 12-2 Washington lead.
Well, I think they were getting ready to warm up the bus, and that's how they got it started. That's exactly where the bus is, and that was a hanger from Gallegos. There's the swing, power coming from the backside, no doubt. And then watch out, Mr. Bus Driver.
Now, What's important is that Gallegos still has one minor league option year remaining, so that could be important for roster flexibility this year. Myers, Gant, Shreve, they've all exhausted their options. So, you know, in talking with Mo earlier, you know, you think about the option game and roster manipulation, this becomes important.
So early in your career as a high-level minor league player, you don't really think about your options in the same way. You think about them as, well, you know, that doesn't really make much difference, but you get to a certain point in your career and it kind of works against you. I mean, you realize that, boy, if you don't have, especially the way the bullpens are handled right now, if you don't have options left, you become less valuable.
Yeah. And he's shown that he pounds the strike zone. Career strikeout rate at AAA 12.3 per 9, walk rate 2.3. That's a strong combination. So you like that too. There's a ground ball foul.
I guess to clarify that, Danny, that rule is in effect to help keep a player from being put down in the minor leagues for too long. So they think of it as it's giving me a chance to move up, but eventually it can be a thing to move you out.
Exactly. Here's the 0-1. That's fouled back. Originally signed by the Yankees for $100,000 in 2011. He was with the Mexico City Red Devils. And Gallegos picks up back-to-back strikeouts. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Well, he did appear in a couple of games last year for the Cardinals. 1 inning combined. Gave up 1 hit. And that was all. Well, you may recall last year, if you follow the minor leagues, Stubby Clapp started to work Gallegos into higher leverage situations as they went on for their championship run. Started to work on consecutive days, went multiple innings. Roster would expand. And then eventually made his way to St. Louis. So, you know, kind of the guy that was forgotten when Shreve got to St. Louis. Voit was gone, but this could be a valuable piece for the Cardinals moving forward.
Still imagining Stubby Clapp dealing with all of the players going up. And, you know, imagine he has a team meeting. He goes, okay, what's your name?
Yeah.
You play short. And okay, by the way, we're playing for the championship, the PCL. So you play short. Anybody play right? Raise your hand. I mean, you're meeting teammates, for goodness sakes. And then next thing you know, you're pouring champagne all over each other and you win another championship.
Figuring out roles, who fits where in a lineup.
And so if you're Stubby Clapp, you got to make those quick decisions. So Cardinals, of course, used to winning at the big league level. Dan, plenty of World Series championships, but Stubby Clapp making that part of the culture in Memphis at the high AAA level as well.
2-2 pitch, and he strikes out 3 after giving up a leadoff home run. We head to the bottom of the ninth. 12-2. Long day for the Cardinals here at the ballpark. 12-2. Take a look at our Bud plays of the game. Why not sign some autographs, make a Cardinals debut? Standing ovation. Long fly out to right in his first at bat. And a few smiles along the way. Paul Goldschmidt.
I think he's going to fit in just fine. You can make a case, Dan, that he has been one of the top 2 or 3 players in the National League the last 5 years.
There's no doubt. We did our off-season shows and showed the numbers, compared those to some of the top players in the game, and he's been right there with them. Sosa lines to left for the first out. Turned on that 2-0 pitch, and there's one away. Paul Goldschmidt, compared to some of the others, 6-time All-Star, 3 Gold Gloves, top 3 in the MVP 3 times, most recently at 17. He's durable, and the OPS against the Cubs, you like to see that, highest against any other National League opponent.
You know, that's top 3 in the MVP voting, and maybe not getting as much love as he should have gotten in some of those years.
You play out west, you play on teams that maybe aren't competing for a division championship. That's something to think about as well.
Half the writers that are voting on it are asleep.
Literally.
By the time you play.
Play out west. Tommy Edman at the plate. Edman pops it back foul. On the air tomorrow, noon St. Louis time. Six-round selection back in 2016. Split time with Springfield and Memphis last year. Primarily with Springfield, 109 games. Mostly a shortstop. And the 0-2. Jam shot, shallow left for out number 2.
Well, Danny, it is just so good to be underway here in spring training. Not the best of games today from the Cardinals' point of view in terms of the numbers, and a couple of pitchers had their struggling moments today, including Ponce de Leon and Cabrera, but it is just good to be back being involved with Cardinal baseball again.
It's the best. Dylan Carlson. You know, and outside the news with Carlos Martinez being shut down for 2 weeks, it has been a fairly uneventful camp, meaning that players reported on time.
Right.
There's been no injuries. You know, things have gotten off to a very good start. It's been smooth.
No controversy, no visa problems, no whatever.
Right. It's been easy.
Yeah.
And a strikeout to end this game. It comes to a close. Washington, a 12-2 winner over St. Louis.
Beautiful day without a beautiful result, Dan.
Ooh,
but
boy.
Again, just glad we're here at Jupiter, Florida, enjoying Cardinal baseball.
So we'll wrap it up again. Our next telecast will be tomorrow at noon. We all know that you'll be playing a little hooky with us. 12-2.